in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, 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 won't you let the light shine through? In the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Shanghai Masters, and this time around we're down to the single table format, and this format now is going to feature 4 of the best World Snooker Tour players, and this is a brilliant lineup to get us underway with Watchalong, the world number 1, up against Yize, the world number 4, the reigning world champion, up against the 2019 world champion, and of course, as I say, the leader of the rankings. Only played a couple of matches in between themselves, but it was always going to be a very interesting encounter at that stage. Saudi Masters a couple of seasons ago, where Yize was actually able to challenge Watchalong all the way, despite losing out by 5 frames to 4. And then, of course, the famous English Open 5 frames to 2 dominant win for Watchalong before last season clash, that we have seen a mighty comeback from Yize himself, trailing 4-0 at the International Championship, and then of course managed to win that match very, very comfortably indeed at the end, winning 6 frames on the bounce, and of course making sure that it was the first ranking event win for him. And yeah, going to be interesting. And to be fair, you have to say, if you look at the way the semi-finals are going to be lined up, 2 players from England, 2 players from China, arguably right now 2 of the best players from England, and certainly 2 of the best players from China. We still haven't seen a Chinese player in the final here since 9 years ago, so it's going to be very interesting to see if either Yize and Zhao Xingdong are going to be able to challenge Watchalong and Karen Wilson respectively. First of all, of course, with a special format that Shanghai Masters does present, we're going to have this day to be dedicated completely to the match in between Watchalong and Yize, featuring and consisting of 2 sessions. First one will consist of 9 frames, whatever happens, and then the second one will be played until one of the players will reach the number 10 on frames 1, but ultimately you could also be down to, an incredible decider. We have seen plenty of those so far this week, but ultimately they're a lot less likely to come when it comes down to the format of the first to 10, because you literally need to see the players to be heading, well, very much going head-to-head with each other until the very end. For now, Yize will make his way towards the arena, and certainly now going to be looking forward to this one. He's never been at this stage of Shanghai Masters before, and he's going to be excited here to try and get himself lined up for a potential win here. A little bit surprised that he is actually going to be, as opposed to be fair, it's going to be, he was the one introduced first on the arena, so it probably all makes sense. There's the world number 1 now, makes his way to the arena after a dominant performance against John Higgins yesterday. He certainly managed to take all the revenge that he wanted after a very disappointing couple of defeats in the Masters of the Triple Crown and the Players' Championship last season. Now, can he try and take another revenge against Yize for that embarrassment, as you can call it, in the International Championship? Anyway, it's going to be a great match, and we're probably down to the stage. Or if you're a neutral fan, you don't really care who wins, you just want to try and savour as many frames of snooker as it's humanly possible. It will be Tron then to get us underway, as Yize has won the toss and has decided to leave his opponent to be the one taking an extra break-off shot if we are to go the distance. So then, Trump the very interesting technique, and it's going to be very interesting for the cue ball now to be heading towards the yellow pocket. Well, that was quick for the first points to be scored. I mean, don't really know how Trump managed to get around the blue there. You can see that it's had a bit of a curve there at the end. Caught the reds a little bit too thin for my liking, but also way too much power at the end of it. So now, 4 points to be given away to Yize. Now he's got a great chance of trying to go for the red into the left corner. Plenty of topspin on this shot, you would imagine. And look at that, brilliantly taken again. It always seems like he's trying to take that cue ball towards the black. A lot closer than usual, but it's a brilliant shot this time around. And now he's going to be still very close towards the black, but ultimately, how well he's managed to get himself lined up for the colour, he probably is going to have even better of a chance to try and continue the break. Clearly didn't fancy his chances too much of going around the red and trying to play it into the left corner through the black, so he decided to go onto the left side cushion and try and take the red along the cushion here. And, well, this time around, way too much of the jaw there that he caught, and We've seen that in the deciding frame against Murphy, where he had the black to be stopped pretty much in the exact same position there, but this time around, Trump is going to get away with that mistake, for now at least, and we have to wait and see what can the world number one try and achieve here. I do have him as the favourite for multiple reasons. I think Yize was a little bit unsteady, through his match against Murphy, but I think he'll come alive in the second session a lot more. Good morning to you, Abdul, as well, but ultimately I think he will be down to Trump just being too strong for him, because, you look at the way that he's managed to outplay Higgins. It wasn't like Higgins was struggling, to put a ball out there. He was, but because of Trump scoring 270 plus points across 2 frames with 2 consecutive century breaks and, a total clearance of 142, probably one of the highest breaks of the entire tournament, just below the formidable maximum of Xiao Guodong. Trump is overdue for another title. Yeah, I mean, certainly. When was the last time we've seen Judd to be on top of his game like that? German Masters was a good campaign for him, but let's be honest, he didn't really have to come away with some brilliant names in there. He did beat Robertson and Murphy, probably the biggest names that I can think of at that tournament, and Si Xiaowei, if you want to still put him in that equation. But, he wasn't really up against the likes of Ron Easington or Yize, because they all would have been eliminated at that stage. But it was quite an impressive campaign for him, all in all. But I think this one, especially with the type of the opposition that he had to play against, being the world number one, usually he's going to be the one getting a little bit of a more favourable draw. Not this time around, as you can see. Never want John Higgins to be played in the quarter-final stage, and then all of a sudden, he goes through a world champion, the reigning and defending world champion at the Crucible, and ultimately still now looking to try and get the last of the Reds here. So this is why I think, for me, this is probably going to be the most anticipated match in the whole tour. I don't think you could have a better lineup simply for the match of the playing styles, but also just very curious to see on which one of the players is actually going to be better. I think we know who's going to be, at least now, more successful and stuff, but doesn't really come into play too much there. The experience of Trump and stuff is just all about who's going to be able to get themselves over the finish line. And as we've seen with Yize, I mean, one thing you have to say about this guy, and every single time I think about it, is incredible, because he just comes across a little bit as the guy that, whether it's the first frame or it's the last frame, he doesn't really see a difference, which you could say could be a negative thing. But then I look at his decider record, from what I can remember, and he seems to be winning pretty much everything, which is incredible for him, but also makes it very consistent for him as well. As Trump now goes for the red and gets himself lined up for the blue here. Now having a very interesting look at the, cluster of those A reds or so. Now then, he's going to be thinking about it here. So what can he try and possibly achieve here? Because you feel like if he goes into the plant, there's always going to be a risk of him potting the red to the left corner. But ultimately, it's a horrible pack to go into because of how, little angle he has on the cue ball. And in the end, he decided just to play for that plant, which probably is a logical thing because I don't think he actually had the angle to try and do something with it. But at the same time, I'm not too sure if it's going to be down to, a bit of a problem for him to try and achieve. I mean, that plant is looking nowhere near the pocket. So, once again, this is where the interest is going to come alive here. Does he make this one in? Ooh, I mean, he went for another one. I didn't really anticipate for him to go for the plant, which was further away from the cue ball, but he has done it. And now it will be just a break of 38 points there for Judd, as the red's going to wobble into the pocket, go all the way towards the green pocket, and now, all of a sudden, despite being 26 points down, Yize's got a great opportunity ahead of him after that mistake from Trump. Well, it felt like the mistake probably came a couple of shots earlier there for Judd, because being so, straight in the blue pretty much. I mean, he had a minor angle to try and do something with, but clearly couldn't do anything. And at the end stage, it's now 25 points for Yize to work with as he gets the first red in. The interesting thing is, look at how well the reds are now positioned, all apart from one, after that previous shot from Trump, obviously trying to, kill two birds with one stone, trying to pot the red, play for a colour, and at the same time, of course, get that cue ball to be lined up into the bunch of reds, which, does seem like it's worked out pretty well for him, but in relation to, his opponent right now, because he wasn't able to pot the red, it just seemed like he's struggling a little bit here to get that cue ball and to complete control, and he's actually going to keep it onto the bulk cushion for now, into the bulk area for now, which is a little bit surprising, because even though he's got a red over the pocket, but, I mean, how easy is it going to be for him to try and get a positional shot on the colour? Not so easy to me, but gonna have to wait and see on what he's got in plan, and he manages to find a very good gap there in between the pink and the reds, which was very important for him to achieve that, because he didn't try to force his way with the cue ball, so he played a lot more calculated of a shot, and now gets himself lined up nicely on the top side of a blue, getting that transition on towards the black very much available for him, and once again just having a look to see what's going to be happening at the lower end of the table. Can he try and make it down towards those reds? And the answer is I think he can. Look at that brilliant shot there off two cushions once again, the black ball and then the side cushion. Now gives himself two options to go on the next colour. He can try and play for the blue if he's going to be going for the red a little bit higher up, or he can try and use the red closest towards the black ball cushion and just try and settle for the black to be taken. Of course, the black is going to evolve back into its own spot as well, as he now tries to maximize the angle of the pocket, which I'm not sure was a right thing to do there, but he gets away with it, despite getting in behind one of those problematic reds. Manages to get it slightly more in the open position, but ultimately had enough power there for the cue ball to bounce away from that red, because if it didn't, that would have been the end of a break. From which side it is WSD Play. So the streaming snooker platform. Yeah, so you're going to have a chance now for Yize to try and make it down to 38 points each. But ultimately, I think he's going to have to try and get that red into the open play. Because if you think about it, he's got 4 more reds in the open play for him. And, 4 reds, 4 blacks means 32 points. So that means he can get 32 points ahead. And it's not really going to be good enough for him, to be fair. 50-50, make less unforced errors. Yeah, I agree with that one, but I don't really think it's a 50-50. I think Trump is the favourite to me, but once again, it's one of those matches where, you can't predict it. Otherwise, what's the point of anticipating this kind of a match if you feel like you know exactly what's going to happen? But for now, I feel like it's better for the game if Yize wins the first couple of frames, but because we don't want him, well, at least from a neutral point of view, you don't want him to be getting too far away. Same with Trump. But I feel like Trump is capable of coming back, although, when it comes to Yize, he's usually a brilliant front runner, so he doesn't really have to come back too many times, as he now just about misses the contact on the red. I don't think he would have done too much damage if he hadn't done so. But still looking to try and make those 3 more reds in, and then yeah, that red on the left side cushion is never going to be a nice one for him to try and make his way through, but, I mean, it's right in between there. I mean, he can't play for it onto the cushion, onto the corner pocket, so you're going to have to try and nudge that one towards the left middle, but I don't know if it's actually too far or too close there in relation to its positioning towards the left middle pocket. And may need some luck too, like who had in the decider of us. But now I think Yize had luck throughout the entire match, but I think Murphy was the one lucky in the decider. Don't really think you can say anything bad about Yize. I mean, he was unlucky. Oh, look at that. He's tried to make that red to be developed. He's done that. Compromised himself slightly on the pink, but he's going to be able to be all right here. So once again, a brilliant shot there. Very, very much switched on there. And Trump, you can see there back in his chair, getting back to the relaxed mode because he knows one mistake, and as long as Yize puts 3 more shots there, he will be all over for the number 1 in the first frame. And ultimately now just looking at the red to be taken into the right corner here, he can, do whatever he wants in terms of the colours, just needed to make sure he potted the actual red. I mean, when I say he can do whatever he wants, he still needs to pot a colour. Getting himself slightly out of shape there on the paint, but still making a break of 50 points there. As he has done very much every single time that he's been able to win a frame against Sean Murphy. Now Murphy just blew an easy chance to close out the game. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think there was any luck about it. You know, he probably was lucky to come back to the table after that mistake on the red to the right corner, but that was entirely Murphy's fault. I mean, he didn't really invest in, future predictions at that point. He just was trying to make his chance. He missed the black into the left corner, which I thought was down to the table fade, and he was unlucky with that one. You know, Murphy then steps to the table, and you feel like it's going to be over, and then Murphy makes a horrible blunder in the decider, and the revenge for the World Championship is just not going to be there for him for now. What certainly is going to be there is a nice little break of 60 plus points for Yize, and that does get him the first frame on the board as well. The green is going to stay out of the pocket, but the century wasn't even on anyway. So then, Yize with a really good break there, and getting himself a very good result in the first frame as well. And the only thing that has been out of shape is Trump decides to carry on here, which is surprising. I mean, he clearly feels like there is going to be value in trying to get the cue ball in behind the brown here, which I don't really think there is, but you may be seeing something that we don't. Though Murphy missed the red, the cue ball was bumped to lay behind the red, enabling Wu to clear. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure, he bumped it with a double kiss. You can't really say that was lucky because, the cue ball was going towards the right corner pocket to try and be lined up for the black. And Trump has said enough about this one. And I don't really know what that was all about. But anyway, it is now Yize that gets himself a frame on the board after a really good break of 61 points. And now he will be down to a bit of the advantage here for Yize. And a very positive start now for him in relation to how badly he started in the first stage of the frame. But he's managed to recover really, really well. And now finds himself leading by a frame to nil there against Trump. Of course, the crowd are going to be cheering him on there for obvious reasons. The tournament being staged in China. I think Trump is still going to have a couple of fans of his own there. But yeah, you feel like, it's an interesting one because Trump was the one to make the first mistake with the cue ball to be heading towards the yellow pocket. But that allowed, Trump to have that chance after Yize missed the red into the left corner after deciding to try and play the red along the side cushion. Scoring 8 points, and then Trump scored 38 points. And then every single time after that, the next break was higher than the previous one. So let's see if the tendency will very much remain in the second frame as well. Because that way, you're certainly going to have a chance for, a century break to be very much available for one of the players. As for now, the referee is going to try and re-establish the position of the reds for a re-rack. And then we're going to get the second frame very much underway here. And this is going to be the perfect start, to be fair, because, as I say, I'm just looking forward to seeing a bit more of Judd there. But when we do see that, this is going to be one of those one-sided matches, I think, because in relation to not necessarily the scoreline, but in terms of the performance, you very rarely see both of the players performing to their highest level, which we haven't seen about any one of the two players, but still, Trump was worse and Yize was better in the first frame. Now, let's see if the world number one has got the response. And certainly doesn't have to worry about the scoreline just yet. Probably not until frame 4 that he's got to be worried about it. And even if he does go 4-0 down, there's still going to be plenty of room for him to try and recover until the end of the match. But of course, something that you must learn from, and I'm not sure if either one of the players would have been following the Shanghai Masters of the previous year, because both of them would have been knocked down by that stage. I'm not even sure Yize was participating in that Shanghai Masters because he wasn't anywhere near the top 16. And I don't think he would have been given the wild card either, because I still think there would have been Chinese players a lot higher of a ranking than him. Certainly not a lot more Chinese players that are going to be higher on height than Yize. He's absolutely massive. And tell you what, it's not a bad break-off shot, but could have been slightly better on the cue ball and the red. So Trump has got his eyes straight away on that red to be taken into the corner. But it's a very risky shot there, I would say, for Trump to be taking on. And he's missed it, but ultimately the risk that I was talking about, he was able to sort of get away with, but let's see where the red is going to finish now. He's missed that red by quite a bit of a margin, and in the end, I thought the cube was going to drift in behind the green. He hasn't. So then Yize, another good opportunity here. Just like it was in the first frame. Didn't have to play a single shot there before getting a chance from Trump. Of course, the previous frame was a lot more difficult of a chance, and he's done really well to get that red into the corner before putting the black into the opposite side of the table. Now then, well, of course, we're not going to see a whitewash. It was always, well, from Trump's point of view at least, in relation to the repetition of match against Higgins, but ultimately just needs to try and steady himself a little bit, because for now, as we have seen yesterday against Yize, he was absolutely unstoppable in the first two frames, playing really, really well. And now referee's just going to check the position of the pink spot there. I don't think Yize is going to care about this one too much, because if the pink goes underneath the reds, it's not really going to be available. Neither it will be if he goes onto the top part of the pack there. So then just looking at the red to be taken into the right corner, and you do feel like there is going to be plenty of opportunities here for, you know, position to improve here, because the black is certainly doesn't look to be available. The pink is now about to be joined by and surrounded by a pack of reds as if it was an army, but at the same time, he's still got the ball colours, he's still got the blue. He doesn't have that many reds though, so it's going to be interesting the way he approaches this position. It's certainly a lot more difficult for him than it was in the previous frame, which he's managed to deal with really well. Because, you know, even though it was quite easy, but he was very clinical with it. But also that shot to get that red away from the left side cushion was absolutely superb. And look at that straight away, getting his eyes on, trying to get that black to be available. I'll tell you what, it's not too far away from being perfectly on that red, right next to the black. And of course, you know, that single red will probably make the black certainly to go into the right corner, which, you know, is going to be better than nothing. But ultimately, take another red away, and that's a little bit clumsy that from Yize. I'm not sure if he's still able to get through on the black. Something that he had to make sure he did was to avoid a unnecessary cannon on the red that would have been covering the path of the black into the left corner. That's why it was so essential for him to avoid that red, so that you would get the position on the black to the right corner, but he wasn't able to do so, and now he will be down to 14 points that Yize has scored, and ultimately the yellow is about to be played towards the left side cushion, and then back to Trump it goes. So then just having a quick look to see on what's going to happen now with Trump. So just very carefully looking at those reds, you know, trying to get that cue ball to be lined up onto the right side. Once again, this is a draw by a fraction there, which wasn't the best piece of news, but I mean, the worst may be still yet to come there, because, well, I thought for a second Yize is going to be lining up another long-range shot there, which could be classified as a missile at this stage because of how dangerous it is. And look at that, brilliantly shot taken there by Yize in relation to the cue ball positioning, but now forcing one of those reds to go even closer to the pocket. So, let's see if he's managed to get the cover. He has, which makes it a very good shot indeed, because now, of course, Trump is going to have to try and respond with, you know, him getting the most out of that cue ball positioning. And in the end, well, he decided to try and pot the red into the corner. And I'll tell you what, you got a very lucky kiss there, Judd, of another red, because he was always going to be, you know, trying to find a little bit of trouble on that cue ball's backside. And he has done so, but still very fortunate, as I say, to get that cannon off the red and position the cue ball now all the way to the top end of the table. But look at this. I mean, for every single luck you have, you need to pay the price, and there does seem to be a price there. There's a plant looking perfectly well into the corner, and, well, it did look perfectly well. The cue ball now is going to be in the pocket. It's all going off there, and Trump will have a ball in hand and a couple of reds to choose from. So, after once again getting that first chance of Yize, it does seemingly look like it will be down to Trump to get his own opportunity now and get himself back into the mix for the match here. Looking for that red to be taken into the left middle. has to justify this shot in relation to the pace really, really well, and he hasn't. Well, I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not great at all. I mean, I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm very surprised with the way that he caught that cue ball in no man's land here, Trump, because, I mean, I understand why he wasn't playing for the black, because of how narrow the sort of angle and that section where the cue ball could have been placed was, but tell you what, it's going to be very awkward for him to try and go for this shot on the blue. As you can see, he just can't place his body at the table. Very nervous about touching those reds. He's got down and got back up there about 3 or 4 times there. He's going to go for the green. He's going to miss it, but he got away with that one, Trump. Tell you what, he's not firing on even 2 of those cylinders that he's been showing against Higgins yesterday. But he was really, really lucky there to get a double kiss on the green, because otherwise, of course, the cue ball would have been trying to get on the red that he was playing for himself, and that would have been very much a gift in favour of Yize. So for now, just a single point, but, you know, the good news for Trump is that he only trails by 9 points at this stage, and even though Yize is actually known and very much capable of trying to find raids from nowhere, I feel like even he might struggle at this stage because of how difficult the position is going to be ahead of himself. So then looking at that and just making sure that he does have the understanding of what's happening around him. I mean, he can go for this red into the middle. I think it would be a little bit of a suicide shot. Well, he's gone for it. I tell you what, it'll be brilliant if he gets it. What a shot that is. I mean, the whole reason why I said it was going to be a suicide is he gets a little bit unlucky with the cue ball positioning of how far away he's going to be with the colours. But look at that. That was absolutely brilliant there from Yize. Judged it to perfection. Wasn't even close to missing that shot. And now we'll probably get, you know, that cue ball to be in behind the green here. So, you know, it felt like Trump managed to get away with that error, but he didn't. And him missing out on the green, he's now going to be right in behind the green himself, and could be a very costly little situation to find himself with, because, you know, not really in terms of points, because he's still going to be 107 at the table, but where do you find a safe place here for the cue ball to be sent towards those reds? I mean, the easy answer probably is going to have to be try and aim to the low range of the left corner pocket, and that's what he's gone for. He doesn't want to miss the reds on his way, although I think he touched it. Well, whatever it was, it's not really going to be the advantage that he's looking for. I think he caught that red a little bit, so I don't think it'll be a foul, but I'm pretty sure, you know, Trump wouldn't mind one bit if it was a foul. Because, yeah, misjudged the pace completely. I think that red took the pace a little bit off the cue ball away. But at the same time, Yize doesn't seem like he's too keen on trying to take either one of those shots on, which I think he still will. But just looking at the plant, you know, not looking perfectly in the pocket, but also being quite close to the cue ball, you know, which would make the positional shot for the black not the easiest one in the world, but also you have to make sure you actually get the red in, which he has done. Now let's see what the cue ball's going to finish. And I did say the positional shot on the black wasn't going to be the easiest, and that's a problem now for Yize, because look at the way the cue ball's fit. I mean, I'm surprised that he's gone for that shot. I mean, it's either there was no other option for him, but if there was no other option, then what was the point of taking that plant on? He should have just gone for the red into the right middle, unless he was trying to just find the angle to get past those reds and be lined up for the blue. But whatever it was that he was trying, he's now got a red over the left corner that he needs to try and do something with, and the problem is he probably can only see a colour and a half with the pink and potentially green that he's got visibility on. And well, I mean, if he finds the angle to try and get the cue ball to a safe place, he deserves a frame purely for that itself, to be fair. So then what's it going to be? I don't think he can get through to the black, so I would imagine he's going to call pink towards the referee. But very interesting to see the way that he's going to be looking for this angle. He's tried to go for the pink. That is absolutely outrageous. That is incredible shot there from Yize. How on earth has he managed to pot that pink? And now he puts himself right in the mix to try and win the frame. I wasn't even considering that he's going to try and pot the pink. Well, one thing about Yize, you never know what's going to happen, and you just love when this guy turns it up a little bit of a volume and manages to perform those brilliant types of shot like he has just done with the pink. Brilliant, and could well be the frame-winning shot there for him as well. Now 80 points clear, and still looking for plenty of those reds to be available. Well, it's one of those shots there that if you miss it, you're going to be criticised, but yeah, if you make it in, you're going to be absolutely praised, and very rightfully so. Well, could Trump be in a little bit of trouble now, as he now finds himself being sat in his chair, 25 points down, but also, you know, just seeing his opponent playing that well, it's never a positive sign for you. And yeah, I did say we want to see Yize to get a little bit of a buffer for the interest of the match, but as I did say, you never want this guy to be racing away from you, because it could easily turn out to be, as I said, one-sided match, but not necessarily in the way that I thought it would be. Because for now, the scoreline doesn't really represent with what's been happening, but Yize won't care about that. He's going to try and make sure the scoreline is going to be as beneficial for him as it possibly can be. And now 33 points is the gap. Still only 83 points at the table because of how many reds have been taken previously to this fantastic pink. And yeah, he's going to be lined up for the pink one more time here. Probably trying to get rid of the red next to it, but needs to make sure he's not going to be, you know, too keen on that. And because of how close the pink and red were, you know, if you're trying to be a little bit too much towards the red side, you might actually end up hitting the red first. Although I think that way you wouldn't be anywhere near the potting angle. Will win easily. All the pressure's on Trump. Well, for now it is, but I wouldn't really say he's going to win easily just because he's probably likely to win the second frame here. Because if he was the first to 6, then I think we all seen what happened to Murphy and his match versus Yize. Certainly was able to come back and lead 5 frames to 4, despite being 2-0 down, despite being 3-1 down. So, you know, first to 6, he's still got a great chance. And now, referee trying to do some maintenance work on the crowd. But yeah, I mean, Trump needs to improve, and I think he'll know that better than anyone. You know, he's had 39 points that he scored, apart from foul points. And that these, of course, were the breaks of a single and 38 points. So, yeah, he just needs to try and get himself in that momentum and that rhythm, which got him in this match, actually. You know, and not having to play too much of the action against John Higgins. Now, then, just looking at the red to be taken to the right corner, what can he try and possibly achieve here with the cue ball? Probably playing for the red onto the left corner, even though he might need to use the extension. That, of course, is now going to be the frame ball. And once again, a very confident frame win, despite having such a mighty scare. It's a little bit weird to be saying that because, you know, he missed that pink and it's such a different story. But this is why it was such a brilliant shot, because of the opportunities that he has given over to Yize. And now it's going to give him a 2-0 lead here against the world number 1. And he's now going to be only 1 shot away from making another break of 50 plus there. Continuing that fine tendency of every single time he makes a break of 50 plus, he wins the frame. And every time he wins the frame, of course, he still makes a break of 50 plus, which tells you everything you need to know about his style. He never had one of those frame wins with 38 points being the highest break. And I don't think Trump is going to come back, although he might. Let's see what his decision is going to be. Yeah, Trump decides to try and play with this one a little bit longer. So 51 points at the table, 63 is the gap. Clearly thinking about the free ball. I mean, there could be a little bit of value in it because, you know, 12 points is the exact thing of one free ball there. So you should be able to try and fight for it, especially if you're going to have one of those reds to be available. But I still think it's going to be a long shot. But you can't really complain about having, you know, a couple of shots to hit there. There's a bit of a practice there for himself because, as I say, only having breaks of 38 and a single point there to his count so far. And if he just gets close towards the black, as he gets a little bit too close towards the left corner, so he's not going to be able to get too close to the black now. And therefore he's probably going to have to work a little bit harder than he would have liked to get that first snooker. And of course, there's not going to be a great guarantee for him that of one snooker that he's going to be able to sort out all of his issues there. So 12 points unsafe, 3 snookers needed under normal circumstances, but of course it could still be very much just a single snooker if the free ball will come into play. overplayed the red slightly here. Yize is going to be able to see the contact point nicely and try and get the cue ball and red to be separated away from each other. And yeah, just looking at the red that he just sent towards the left corner, I think, of course, he doesn't really have to worry about leaving that red available for Trump, but I still think he wants to try and put a little bit of distance in between the cue ball and the object ball. As now Trump has got a lot better line here, but this time around he's actually going to slow the cue ball down a little bit too quickly. So then once he's overplayed for it, once he's underplayed, hopefully next time for him he's going to be able to get it exactly on target. But first of all, Yize can potentially try and go the route of Xiaoting of just consecutively sending the red to be over the pocket. And he might have actually got the snooker lined up here on Trump, you know, which is pretty interesting. Let's see what Trump is going to be able to do now. And, well, he didn't play that shot with the right amount of power. And I think this is going to be the end of the frame, because Yize has got a chance of trying to cut this red into the green pocket. Not a lot of pressure, and you know that this frame is going to be won if the red is going to disappear, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So then, Yize confirms to be winning this frame with a very good start there for him, and still for now, a sign of domination, you know, from Yize, despite Sean being probably the first who had a real chance of winning the first frame. Never really had that opportunity in frame number 2. But as I say, Yize is not really going to care about what's happened in the past. He's going to be thinking about the scoreline, although he shouldn't be doing that too much right now, because now he's in complete control of the match, and he just needs to make sure he's going to be able to do exactly the same thing throughout the end of the mini session, and then ever since the intermission, same thing for him again. For now, it is going to be Yize 2, Trump 0, as Trump still has to find all the answers, and he's gone from bad to worse there in relation to the way that he lost his second frame. But still, that's the advantage of having the first to 10 match, is that until you get yourself a 4 frame of a deficit, you're always in there with a mix, especially if you're going to be in Trump's position and being the world number 1, being the favourite before the match has got underway. But look at that pink again. Brilliant cut into the corner, which allowed Yize to be potting all those reds and colours, got himself onto a frame ball, managed to pot that one as well, before eventually losing out on one of those extra reds, which allowed Trump to come back to the table, try and play for a couple of snookers before eventually leaving out a chance for Yize, after he was the one that was actually able to get the snooker lined up on Trump as well. So yeah, 5 points, as you can see, 4 each. So both of them, of course, were the dropped cue ball, and both of them were supposed to be really good chances, but actually of both of those ball in hands, Yize was able to score 8 points and Trump was only able to score 1 point, after once again missing out on the green, which was another bad milestone for him to achieve in that previous frame. And yeah, still looking forward to a bit more there from Judd, but Yize certainly enjoying this part of the match, because now he's got a great chance ahead of himself to try and get further and further away from Trump, extend that lead, or just try and maintain it. That probably would do nicely as well, and just make sure that he's going to be in here to stay in relation to what he has been doing, how well he's been doing that, and you know, ultimately the response from Trump hasn't really been there just yet. Therefore, you know, Yize is certainly going to enjoy that as a matter of a fact. And then Trump just having a bit of a thinking process there to see on what does he actually have to do with this game. Well, first of all, of course, he needs to go for a better break off than what we've seen in the first frame, and that's going to be a starting point for him. But basically on the game, I think it's down to the 2 most important points. I think his pot success has not been good enough, or whether it's down to a little bit of momentum, a little bit of just that inability to get himself through towards a prime position. But he felt like that was also down to him, you know, some of his chances probably weren't looking as good for him as they could have been. But at the same time, if you look at the way that Yize had to take his chances away, then you could probably use the same excuse for him. But he didn't need any excuses in the opening 2 frames, and now finds himself leading by 2 frames to 0, as Trump is ready now to get us underway for frame 3, and trying to separate those reds in a better fashion than he has done in the first frame. And hopefully this time he's going to be able to keep the cue ball away from the pocket. It's a lot more like it. Still a little bit too much pace on the cue ball, and I feel like because of the black being covered up from the right hand side here by the red, I think that's probably going to sort of persuade Yize not to be going for a shot onto the right corner. But alternatively, of course, it will be looking, a little bit more difficult for him to try and find a safety shot, which is why he's looking a little bit desperately at that red into the left corner. And I think he's going to have to go for a transitional shot for the cue ball down to the black ball cushion, trying to send the red towards the top part of the table. Well, he still went for it. I tell you what, I said the red was going to be covering the black. He clearly doesn't think so, and that was an absolute beauty of a shot there. Brilliantly struck there from Yize, and once again, look at how little pace he needed for that red to be dropped in, and because of how little pace there was, he just dropped that cue ball in behind the black. Well, I mean, whatever Trump does right now, it just seems like he's going to find himself 1 or 2 steps behind there. And the player from China is absolutely dominating the base right now. And, well, let's see. I mean, he has to stop at some point, but for now he's showing no signs of it, and he's only showing signs of getting better and better. Certainly a great spectacle out there, unless you're a Watchalong fan. So then playing the cue ball into the reds. Ooh, I'll tell you what, he could have done without getting stuck to those two, though. I'm not sure if he's going to have a chance. Until now, Yize missing much and also taking his advantage when chances come. Yeah, I agree. And I also think, I mean, you can't really blame Trump for that particular shot, but I just feel like he's not really putting him under enough pressure there. But I think he will be once he's able actually to take his own chances away. But for now, in this particular frame, he's going to have to wait for a mistake, an error, or Yize getting unlucky here. But for now, he's put himself under a difficult position here. Let's see if he can take this red away. Oh, that was a horrible miss. I mean, it was that horrible. I'm not even sure if he's left that red because of how tight the angle is going to be. But this is what I'm talking about, If Yize misses this red a little bit closer towards the pocket, he leaves it over the pocket there for Trump. But in the end, Trump probably going to go for this raid, whether he's going to try and cut this one in or just play a safety. Well, he went for it now. And just having a look. I thought he said something to the referee, or maybe asking to clean up. I thought he was actually going to admit to making a foul there, but it was a brilliant shot there from Trump. And as I said, needs to have a bit of a spark like that to make sure he's still going to be very much in the mix for the frame. And now then looking at the brown, potentially for the way of getting that cue ball back down the table once again. So then playing this shot with plenty of power. He's got a couple of reds to try and land on for now. He will run out of them pretty soon, but as I say, he needs to try and take every single one of those reds and colours available to him before, of course, trying to go into the pack, because that's going to be another milestone, which you never quite know which way he's going to pan out. Whether he's going to be able to get himself into that groove very early on, or is it going to be a bit more of a problem? For now, top spin and plenty of power there on the cue ball. Seemingly managed to get himself quite straight to the black, which is not the best piece of news, because he's now got only one red to play for, seemingly. Whether he can get through to either one of those reds to be taken into the left corner or the right middle on the left-hand side of the pink, I don't think he can. So that way, he only leaves him with one shot to play, and I think he's played that with too much power. He has, so it's not going to be a middle pocket available, but there's still going to be a chance to try and take that red away to the green pocket. But I mean, the risky thing about this one is that he's got no more reds, so that forces him to go for the top side of a blue. Otherwise, it all makes no sense. But look at that, brilliantly taken. He's just about enough on the top side of a blue out there, but probably would have liked to be a little bit further up the table. I think he's going to have to use the cushion here, maybe even 2 of them. And he has used 2 cushions, and it's a good effort. And is he going to get the results? I don't think he will. Though he might do. I mean, he's managed to brush up now. I don't think he's looking at that red. He's managed to brush up the lower end of the pack, so I thought there may be a chance for him to go for the red into the corner, but there's not going to be. But still, it's a decent break that from 19 points for Watchalong, because, in the circumstances that he had ahead of himself. And brilliant safety, by the way. Look at how well he's managed to get that cue ball in behind the yellow. I think he's managed to cover up every single one of the reds. apart from maybe the one that you can get past the blue and clip the right-hand side edge off. And yeah, I mean, you can see there on the graphic that yellow is covering up those reds quite comfortably. And well, it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen now. Just looking at the reds and the way that he's going to try and take those away. It will be all down to the cue ball to be sent towards the left-hand side of the table. And still, for now, Yize is going to be very much winning on the poll. 56% think that he's going to be the winner of the first session, which is understandable now, but this is not going to be the shot that he's going to enjoy watching back there. And yeah, he just always seemed like he was drifting a little bit too far away from the middle point of the red, which he had to hit out there, even though he's managed to avoid giving foul points away. It's now going to be a chance for Trump. This time around, the red is going to be nicely into the pocket. And, well, that previous cannon into the pack didn't really do a lot there for Judd, but he has given him a red or two to try and work with. And I suppose it's something that he'll take at this stage of a frame. And at this stage of the match as well, in relation to him being 2-0 down. Being 16 points down at the opening start of the frame as well. And also just feeling that if it wasn't for that mistake from Yize, it could have been a lot more than that. And I mean, this is where it's going to be all down to just a little bit of a puzzle solved there for Trump. And he's decided to try and do the here. Well, not the worst cannon, but not the best either. I mean, he's still on the blue, you know, which probably is going to be the best possible chance for him to try and get into the pack. I don't think he can hold that cue ball to be sent into the red, so I just think needs to be aiming for the left-hand side of the pack. That's exactly what he's done, and he's played that shot about as well as he could have, although he still could have done with the black being available, but one of the reds has gone onto the way of the black here, so even though he's got a red over the pocket, I do actually think he's going to struggle a little bit to get on the blue from it, because of how much cue power he'll need. So then looking for the red to be taken here into the left corner, asking the referee for very much the extension and the rest. Probably the spider actually at this stage. And he will be the spider, which once again limits the power of the cue ball even more. Is it going to be just down to passing the red? I don't really think that's the type of a shot that Trump will go for. I mean, is he just trying to get the massive bounce of the cue ball from the left side cushion and try and get him behind the black? Now he was playing for the blue. So then 32 points, play 16, 13 points on the break. Now still on the blue, but still, you know, he doesn't seem like he's got the perfect position ahead of himself. Although, I mean, the little cluster of 5 reds, I feel like if you trim the edges by potting the red on the right hand side and in the left corner as well, then all of a sudden, that will put you right back in the mix. Could have done without that contact on another red, which doesn't make his life any easier though. But still, it just seems like he's slightly out of position every single time he plays for one of those difficult shots, and needs to recover again. And just about has done so, but I mean, he's not badly lined up on the blue now. And of course, with the previous shot, he was always going to have that cue ball to be struck into the pack of reds, which worked out pretty well. So then just, you know, having to be very careful when he goes for the shot on the blue. Now, getting the extension here. So it does remind you a little bit of that shot that he couldn't really, you know, place his hands perfectly at the table. Still needs to be very much careful with both of his elbows there. And he's played that really well. Look at how well he's managed to be on the red, which is going to be essential for him if he wants to try and go back for the blue here. So then 27 points of a lead. And Trump extends his advantage even further. Does need this frame though. Can't really afford to be giving away a 3-0 lead there to Yize, especially the way that this frame has been going for him now. And this break has not been too bad for him either. But once again, that could still be a very costly mistake there come the end of the match for Yize. But, you know, he can't win all of those frames. Although that's something that Judge Trump and Jones don't have something to say about yesterday. And once again, it's a good shot there by Trump, trying to get the cue ball as close to those reds as he can. And this time around, I think he's got the line to try and just carefully send the cue ball on towards the black and get himself through towards the finish line with 59 points at the table, one thing that has to be said, of course, he won't be able to make a century break, but still, you know, if he gets the black and the red in, that will be the highest break of the match for him, as he's now got the joint highest with 38, and puts himself 41 points 41 points ahead. As the referee now just trying to sort out the positioning of the black there. Trump was looking a bit nervous there because the black, of course, could have been in the way of the cue ball and the contact point for the red to be taken into the corner, but that wasn't the case. And now Trump is going to be only 2 shots away from the frame ball. And Yize, you can see there, just having a look to see, clearly knows that he's going to have to be a miracle at this stage for him to be coming back to the table. And it does seem like a miracle is not going to happen for him here in the 3rd frame. So then Trump on the red, that will take him and put him on the score sheet. And it is going to be a frame win there for Trump. So after the struggles of the opening 2 frames, he's able to come back here with a really good break here of 47 points. And once again, manages to keep that 100% record of 3 frames played. And every single one of them has seen at least one break of 50 plus points. But this time around, he's going to be the one bringing a little bit of contrast over to Yize's domination in the opening 2 frames. But once again, as I said, we've seen that against Murphy. You know, just because Yize has played really well in the first 2 frames doesn't mean that he's going to keep on playing that well forever. And Trump, with a good step up from his point of view, some difficult shots that he's taken off that one mistake and a single error from Yize, probably in the, not the entire match, but the only one that has actually cost him something. And you have to give credit to Trump for that, because he was certainly the player that made sure that Yize has certainly paid the price. And look at that cue action, brilliant exhibition there, and look at how effortless he makes it look there, still being on the yellow despite taking such an unorthodox route towards that cue ball to be positioned on the yellow itself. And absolutely brilliant there from Trump, as he gets himself now to a break of 70 points. 2 sides of Trump, one that's brilliant, another with edgy shots. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but that's what makes it so exciting to be watching. And I think once he gets that form underway, you know, it's very difficult to stop him and very difficult to go back to the Trump of inconsistency. For now, he clearly knows there's no century on the offer, so he's just trying to entertain himself, entertain the crowd, entertain the fans with a couple of exhibition shots there. Was that a confidence booster for Trump? I wouldn't really overreact there, as that shot on the blue would be a confidence booster for anyone in the world, apart from maybe Ronnie. You know, when you think about the interview that he's given after in the World Seniors Championship, as Trump there still looking to try and leash the cue ball at 100 miles an hour, trying to go for a double on the pink, unable to do that, but still a very healthy break of 82 points there for Judd, and he now gets himself on the boards, and he manages to avoid the guarantee of a whitewash now, which was never going to happen anyway, but it's now going to be Judd trying 1, and Yize still sitting with 2 frames to his name, as we now approach the 4th and the last frame of the first mini session. It's certainly been a quick one, you know, when you think about the 3 frames in 53 minutes, but I would also say, was it a confidence booster for Trump? I wouldn't overreact with this one too quickly, because I just think he was, but it's not really going to be the frame which, you know, is going to resurrect him from the death. But I mean, when you think about that mistake from Yize, even that first red that he's taken was superb. You know, yes, he didn't manage to take this frame away from the first chance, but in the end, Yize leaving him out with a red over the corner pocket certainly helped his chances. And now, you know, you could see how well he's managed to finish with the blue to be taken into the yellow pocket with a double on the pink. Couldn't quite, you know, be executed, but at the end stage, he's still got a frame on the board. It was the highest break of the match by a long distance, and now all of a sudden, the world number 1 does find himself with only 1 frame in between himself and his opponent, Trump 6-5. I'm pretty sure he's still living in the past there. This is going to be the semi-final match, so he could have a scoreline of 6 frames to 5, but he wouldn't be able to win the match with that scoreline. He is whoever gets to 10 frames, and we're going to have 9 frames only in the first session, which, you know, was always going to mean that the second session will happen, and now we're guaranteed to have at least 2 frames in that second session. But I think what it will be, that frame for Trump, is that it could be two things. One, you could force Yize to be a lot more focused and concentrated, because I think that mistake on the previous frame was down to a little bit of, just too relaxed there for him to be at that stage. Just trying to get that cue ball through the black, not really worrying about the position on the red, because he was like, I'm going to always have that red. Well, he did have that red, but he compromised the cue ball positioning massively. And then you think about everything that's followed. Trump with some brilliant shots, Yize with not so much brilliant shots, exactly what we've seen in the first two frames, but the other way around. So, still going to be, I think Yize is going to have the ability in himself to try and respond with a better performance in the fourth frame, but whether Trump is going to put up with that or not, and whether Yize still does have that ability to actually come back with, him being the stronger of the two players, we're going to have to wait and see. For now, there's a chance for Trump, and this is the danger with him. This is the absolute danger. You talk about Xiaotington and Yize being the kings of the long shots. Well, Trump has to be in that equation as well. And it's a brilliant long range that he's taken. Now, still on the blue, black completely messed up and out of position. It'll be quite difficult to develop that one well, because of how little margin there is in between the red and the black itself. For now, he doesn't really want to touch the red right above the black though, because he's going to have to try and keep that one away to actually make that transition on towards the black actually possible for him, and just basically try and get that red out of the way for him. So then once again, plenty of backspin here on the red, and probably trying to go for the blue. He decided to go for the pink, which is a little bit surprising, but I think that's going to be very much a clear intention for him to try and make it down to the chance. Still a long way to go, best of 19. I would think Trump has the edge over long sessions. Well, listen, I thought he was going to have the edge in the first session. It's not really something that happened, but I would expect Yize to be, I wouldn't say a lot more confident, but from what we've seen of him and what we've seen of Trump last season, I think he's going to have the advantage, in the second session, which is why, of course, it is extra important for Trump to make sure that he doesn't actually allow Yize to be the one leading, because if you're going to allow him to lead in the first session, and then someone like me and maybe other people as well think that Yize is going to be stronger in the second session, then, it's just going to be interesting to see, but it's not really going to be very interesting to see from Trump's point of view. Because when you put yourself on the back foot in both of those aspects, then it doesn't look too well for you. But something that doesn't look too good for him either is the positioning of the pink and the black there. Something that we have seen quite frequently in the last couple of frames. And it's now going to be looking at the red to be taken into the right corner. So maybe a little bit of backspin, trying to get these pack of reds to be spread away from each other. I was about to say he's overplayed for the blue, which I think he just about has. But because of how wide the cue ball is, still quite far away from the side cushion, he might have the ability to try and go for the blue anyway. But I think he doesn't really want too much of the angle here, so he probably is going to just go for the green. Still needs to make sure he pots it, which he has done. And getting that cue ball to be lined up for the reds. Once again, as I say, he needs to be absolutely spot on with his positioning. And I think that's what he's unhappy with. He's got two reds. He's lined up nicely on both of them for the usual break building opportunity, but now of course he needs to be going for the blue or further up the table, so he's probably just going to have to be quite close to the blue, which means he needs to be perfect in relation to that cue ball positioning, which he was. A very minor angle, which is exactly what he's going to be looking for, just trying to get to the bottom of that pack, and at that point, hopefully for himself, he's going to be able to bring the pink or the black into the play and make it a couple of more colours to be available. Will that be 9 frames for the first session? Yes, it will be. That's why I didn't put the draw as a chance for the poll, because it's impossible for that to be the case. We're going to have 9 frames for the first session in the semi-final, and then we're going to have 10 frames in the first session for the final. Because you've got 10 frames in the first session, then you've got up to 11 in the second one, because it is the only match in the World Snooker Tour that is going to be played to the first to 11. So best of 21. I was very surprised when I saw that first time on the TV, because I thought that was a mistake, because it's the last and the first and the only tournament that I've seen to be played to first to 11. But I think it's a brilliant format, I have to say. I've always been a massive fan of having those 2 semi-finals to be on 2 different days. First to 10, 2 sessions. because I never understood the point of having the first round match to be first to six and then the semi-finals to be first to six. I just think it's baffling. Like, what's the point of extending the match period as Trump there plays a brilliant shot to get the red away from the pink? What's the point of having, the extension of more frames to be played in the final of up to first to 10 if you're going to have the first round to be the same same number of frames that you play as you would do in the semi-final of the first round? I just think it's a little bit weird. So I think International Championship, the Tour Championship, and the Shanghai Masters got it absolutely spot on, as well as, of course, the Crucible. And, they've finally managed to sort of realize that, they better increase the frames of the whole Nation Series. I think it's only the quarterfinals that is now going to be played first to six, which is good news. And I still think it's a little bit weird, and always will be to me, that we play, those matches of the fourth round up until first to four. I just think it's, like, with how well and how good the standard of snooker is right now, I just think it's really weird that you only allow for a potential up to 40 minutes of snooker play. And, if you win this match 4-0, you could easily get that done in less than an hour, proven by Trump, Murphy, and O'Sullivan in the past, and probably by plenty more players as well. But something that Trump has certainly been able to do is get himself into a much better shape now. 48 points clear. Still looking at a potential chance of going for the red into the left corner, whilst sending that cue towards the blue. Once again, as soon as he sorted out that pink, that selection of two colours, I did say the red on the black was going to be an interesting fashion there, because I thought he was going to be trying to use another red to remove the red away from the black there, but in the end he decided to settle for the pink and the blue, and you can't say that worked out badly for him, because 54 points later, he's still positioning himself very nicely for, another frame win, and all of a sudden, that handicap of 2 frames to nil, is now going to be only 3 shots away from it being back down to 2 frames each, and very much a score draw there in between the two players, and Trump having the momentum to try and carry on to the second mini session. Although you still feel like Yize hasn't done a lot wrong. He certainly hasn't done a lot wrong in this particular frame. But of course, it was all down to just that, little bit shaky of a break-off. But Trump is not over the line just yet. He still needs the red, and he could have been lined up a little bit better here for the frame ball. The position has probably entered its horrible state now, because he's got 5 reds. One of them he's playing for. The other 3 are certainly going to be compromised by one another and the black. And the 4th one is going to be very close towards the right side cushion. So it's always going to be a long shot, but it's not really, Yize is not really the player that you would want to give a chance away to. And now he has given a chance away to him. So it's going to be quite interesting to see the way this is going to work out. Because now Trump is going to have a break of 60 points. I'm pretty sure still higher than majority of the breaks that Yize has managed to score, apart from one of them. But in the end stage, it's now 67 points at the table. So, I mean, if he goes for the pink every single time he puts the red here, he should not really need the black there. But, I mean, one cheap colour, and by cheap I mean any one of the bold colours realistically, and then you're going to find yourself in trouble. Because right now he's 6 points safe with 5 reds at the table. So, with the black to be covered up by the red. And also, it's not like you can literally just play the red away from the black, because he finds himself the wrong way. And when he's going to be engaged in a safety battle, it's not really going to be an easy thing for him to try and, get his hands on an easy frame winning opportunity here. But that was why it was so important for Trump to try and score 50 or more points, because that was always going to leave Yize with some of the more difficult reds to try and make his way through. As he's now looking to, well, I thought he was thinking about a long shot there, but in the end doesn't really do himself a lot of a favour, pushing one of those reds towards the ball cushion, bouncing it away towards the left side cushion here. And Trump can actually go for this right now if he wants to. I mean, once again, it is just going to be down to, do you take the opportunity whilst the other parts of the table are still getting compromised by one another? I feel like you have to. Probably not necessarily this opportunity, so, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a cross double, but if he does, he needs to make sure he avoids the contact on the black and the red, which he has done. Brilliant shot there by Judd. You know, even though it was a safety, probably got him a slight bit closer towards winning this frame. Let's see what Yize can actually see out there. He does seemingly try to go for the reds next to the ping there, but that was only an illusion because of the third red being so close to those two. So then once again, you would expect Trump to go for the exact same shot that he's gone for previously. Just trying to carefully, you know, play the red above the pink onto the left side cushion. Make sure he's going to have plenty of side spin to try and get that cue ball into the gap of the brown. That's a horrible shot there. I don't know what he was thinking there, but I think he caught that red way too thick. And, I mean, I'm not actually sure he's going to have to pay the price for this one, but he brought one of the reds on the right side cushion into the open play. Well, he's certainly seemingly happy for it to go into the left middle, which I'm not sure it does. But he thinks it does, which is the most important thing. But once again, needs to try and get himself on for the blue. He got the red in. Oh, he doesn't want to touch the yellow. He doesn't want to touch the yellow at all. And this is what I was talking about. He had to get on the blue. Because now, if he doesn't put any colour, which is not out of imagination at all, he's only going to be able to get a respot, and the chances of him getting a respot at that stage are going to be very, very slim. So it's brown or nothing, it would seem, because I don't think the yellow goes, but also the yellow doesn't really give him the points that he needs. So it's brown, which is not great, especially with the line that he has to take on the brown. He spotted that one, he got the contact on the reds, but he's not going to be on the red now. So then, 55 points behind, 59 on the table. The black is still covered up, by the way, which is very important at this stage, now that he's taken the brown, because he can no longer get away with taking those 4 reds with the pink, you know, and win the frame. He's going to be able to get a respot that way, but I don't really think that's going to be his mindset, so probably just trying to separate the reds away from the black, which is going to be a risky thing to do as well. I think the most logical thing is just going to try and play one of those reds away towards the green pocket, but make sure he's going to be far enough so you don't risk potting it, and then just trying to get that cue ball to be behind the black there. So this is the thing that Trump is going to have to deal with. He wants a touch and ball, and I think he's going to get it. Well, that's interesting. I think one thing that Yize had to make sure is that he didn't give away a touch and ball, because now, all of a sudden, Trump is going to be back in the driver's seat to a certain extent, because now he can choose a position on the table where he wants to try and play that cue ball on towards and make sure he's still going to have a good chance of not leaving anything away in relation to those reds on the left corner and the left side cushion, as well as the green pocket, to be covered up. Very safe for him as well. But even though he does have that luxury of a touch and ball, I'm still not sure that, you know, it's going to be enough there for him. He probably needs to just try and take that cue ball away. I thought he was going to try and use the jaws of the pocket, but, well, let's see how well he's played this shot then. Because he clearly tried to use the blue as a bit of a tiebreaker there in between the cue ball and the red by the green pocket. So Yize not having too much of a long look at it. And just trying to once again work. Wow, that's, to me, that's a blunder. And that's a horrible mistake. He's trying to free up the black there with the cue ball. But I'll tell you what, Trump is not looking at this one too much. Probably suggest that I overreacted a little bit. But to me, from this angle, it looks like the red is certainly going to be possible. But I suppose the counterpoint for Trump is that, what do you do if you miss it? And you probably lose the frame in that way. So you probably want to be a little bit smarter than that. And that's probably why he's trying to go for the red into the green pocket. Let's see if he's got this one in. It's close. It's very, very close. And he has managed to get that one into the corner pocket. And to be fair, he was smart there, Trump, because by taking the red, which to me was a lot easier of an option, you know, if you miss it, you leave all the remaining reds available. But if you miss that one that he was playing for into the green pocket, he didn't leave anything away. Even if he left that red over the pocket, he was still using the pink as a nice little buffer for himself, which, you know, was a very sensible thing for him to do. And that sensible thing to do is now going to win in a frame as he gets the break of 9 points underway. And, yeah, Yize is not going to be coming back to the table in this particular mini session. He will be the intermission with 2 frames each. Great contrast to the last meeting with Trump winning all 4 of the opening 4 frames. This time around, he's lost the opening 2, but he's managed to come back in frames number 3 and 4 with probably domination there, you have to say, in each of those 2 frames, now being ahead when it comes down to total points scored, but ultimately not being behind when it comes to the frames won, and still showing a little signs of exhibition. Look at that, brilliantly taking that cue ball on a journey from the right side cushion. Pretty much too much power there for the cue ball nearly to reach the left side cushion as well, which would open up the angle on the red in quite a negative fashion there, but he still takes it nicely. So then looking for a total clearance of around 50 points here, incredibly, which is not going to be the case now as he misses out on the ping, so it will be the break of 22 points, which will be the last that we see of Watchalong there. I thought for a second Yize was coming back to the table, which of course he wasn't. It's now going to be the break of the intermission as Watchalong now has managed to come back in this match after trailing by 2 frames to 0. It is now going to be back to square one for the players, and the first to 10 has turned out to be a first to 8. It is Watchalong 2, Yize 2, as it's still all to play for in between the players, as Watchalong has managed to pull off a mini comeback. Let's see which one of the players will have the advantage and the momentum after the intermission is over. Stay tuned in, plenty of more action to come at the Shanghai Masters semi-final of session number 1.
Traveling mountains just to find the loudest seas. We set down by the fire, knowing we couldn't higher, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my funland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. I remember the ocean, memories die out too hard. But we were traveling mountains just to find the loudest seas. We sat down by the fire, knowing we could aim higher, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my funland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club.
The night lay waste to all we'd given. But honestly, you've gotta know that this ain't living. But we could run from Elysium and let it burn, let it burn. You've gotta know that nothing lasts forever. I can't believe myself. I never thought that this would be our end, but it's nothing new. And my lover's honesty, I could push it back down if I have to. If you want me to, 'cause we can run. And we can run. The stars they fall all for you. So tell me now, what's left to lose if we run?
Alright then everybody, welcome back to the stream. We are going to have the intermission to be over in less than 90 seconds. So then, ultimately, let's very quickly just break it down to what happened in the first 4 frames. The first 4 frames that have been, well, pretty much as exciting as you could possibly hope for before the matches got underway, especially from the neutrals perspective. I think the fact that Yize was able to take an early lead would have actually helped him a little bit to a certain point, but as we have seen against Sean Murphy, you know, a 2-0 lead doesn't necessarily mean an awful lot in your favour, as now the players are going to be coming back towards the table, so the intermission is about to come to an end here as well. And yeah, ultimately you probably have to say you will come down to the first couple of frames to be probably the exact pace setter as they were into the first 2 frames of the first mini session. Now then, it is going to be Trump with the break-off shot once again. I'm just waiting for the actual timer of the intermission to get down to 0, but also you are going to have to wait for all the fans to take their seats there. But yeah, I mean, Yize taking both of the opening frames in a very confident fashion, apart from, of course, the first frame where Trump had his own chance and his own opportunity of scoring 38 points. But once again, as he was in the first frame, you know, at that point it was a mistake of passing a cue ball there from Trump. This time around, it absolutely clatters into the blue. He might have got away with this one, but Yize might have other plans about it. The only reason why I said he might have got away with it, because there is not really a way for an easy shot on the collar. Well, Yize didn't really feel like that was going to stop him, and he should have stopped him, because now it is going to be exactly where he left off, it would seem, if Trump does get the chance, which I think he will. Very ambitious shot that from Yize, and in the end, it's not worked out at all. Let's see the grade that he hasn't worked out to. Yeah, Trump is able to get through to a rate. That is a disaster for Yize. And as I said, that's exactly something that he didn't want to see, you know, when he comes back from that 15-minute break, and it's all going to be down to that machine of Trump just getting to the reset mode and getting back to the default settings of the frame, number 3 and 4 here. And straight away, you know, that shot was always going to develop the Reds from Yize. You know, Trump's break-off shot wasn't bad either, but now it's all there for him, and it's a brilliant chance here for Trump to try and find himself ahead by more than 38 points in the match for the first time here. As, you know, technically he was ahead in the first frame, but that was the only point that's actually occurred ever since he's been the one trying to play the chase game. And you could say not only chase, but also chess game, because you've been playing pretty well with the position, you know, just trying to put all the pieces into the position they should be. And as I said, inevitably, when Trump is going to be playing well, just as it was for Yize when he was playing well, you cannot have those 2 players both to be playing well. That is going to be 1 out of 10 of a chance. And, well, logically, it's not going to be today, it would seem, because every single time we're going to see those players to, you know, one of them is going to be performing better. At the same time, the other one is going to be dropping down in performance. Exactly what we've seen in the first 2 frames. And exactly what we've seen from frames 3, 4, and potentially 5 now again. You know, the worst thing for Yize is that he's made around 4 mistakes, I would say, up to this point in the entire match. Probably a little bit more than that, but 4 mistakes that have cost him. And, you know, Trump is now on his way to potentially getting himself nicely lined up for a 3rd frame win. And, you know, it just tells you something about the way that those chances are now getting used in the World Snooker Tour, especially if you get yourself through to the Shanghai Masters semi-final and you're going to be looking up against the top 16 seeds, and at the same time, you're going to try and make sure you maximize your own chances, but you also have to be very much held accountable for when you don't make the most out of them, but also when you make your own unforced error, whether it is going to be down to a safety shot or by not playing, you know, the pot success well enough. Either way, Trump is trying to stay on the black now for obvious reasons, but ultimately I think that's probably the easiest way for him to go, as he now pushes another red towards the open play. Really nice shot there. Doesn't sacrifice anything of the position on the black, but also gets himself through to a chance of, you know, potting another couple of reds. I would say, I think I would like to see, I mean, I said Yize was going to be my slight favourite in the previous match, but in relation to preference, I would probably don't want to see 2 players from England or 2 players from China. I would probably want to see 1 player from England, 1 player from China, and since, my affection for the game of Zhao Xingtong, I probably would have to give the edge to Trump here, but still, Zhao Xingtong against Yize is probably going to be the most exciting match that you possibly can imagine for all sorts of reasons. It's going to be an absolute chaos on the table, but I said this is the most anticipated, and this is probably the best match that you can think of. But when it comes down to chaos, and when it comes down to pure drive and sheer emotion, I think Zhao Xingtong and Yize just, is going to be better than anything that we've seen. This one is purely interesting from the point of view of you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know who's going to win, and you don't know when he's going to change. But look at that for a shot from Trump, and I mean that in a negative way. What's he done there? How on earth has he managed to miss all the reds? He's trying to play the cannon from the black onto the reds, and now, somehow he ended up with the cue ball to be right next to the yellow pocket here. Just want to see the replay of that one, but it's going to be a break of 56 points. So he was still going for that one mythical 147, but, well, he won't be now. Unless he finds out a Yize shot at himself, which, he won't. So he's just going to have to be a safety shot for him to play. Didn't play that one too well to me. Yeah, he's going to have one red to go over the corner. And in 2 shots time, he's gone from absolutely dominating the frame to leaving out a chance here for Yize after making another break of 50 plus. So far, the tendency pretty much of the entire tournament is that whoever makes the break of 50 or more points is going to be able to win the frame. I'll tell you what, tendency and the eras do come to an end sometimes. And it's a good shot there. A really good pace of the cue ball there from Yize. Had to take the red away. Not to take that one for granted, but also he's now lined up nicely for the green to try and take that cue ball onto the right side cushion. Play down the table for the gap in between the reds and the black. And once again, plenty of power on the white there, just trying to be lined up for the reds into the right corner. Another great shot that he's played. And it's all there for him. If you break it down, literally, in relation to the 4 reds and the pack they're going to be forming of themselves. So if you break that pack down, all of a sudden, it's all going to be there for him. But look at that for a mistake. That is an absolute sitter that he has missed. I just said how good he's played that positional shot for the red. And then he's only gone and missed it. Well, Trump is absolutely going to be rubbing his hands there, because now he's going to be looking at this and thinking, how on earth have I got this lucky? Well, he's not going to be missing those reds, that's for sure. And Yize just seems like he's starting to feel it a little bit. Maybe starting to feel a little bit of pressure. Maybe starting to feel like Trump is going to be running away from him. Let's see the way that Trump is, well, hopefully for himself, he's going to be able to finish the frame off there. Well, it looked like we were going to be seeing a lot more, of a closer frame. But in the end, once again, that tendency does continue. You make that break of 50 plus, the pressure physically and mentally on your opponent is going to be insane there in relation to what you must do to try and, overrule that deficit. But Trump plays another great shot on the red, manages to, get that pack of reds to be spread out away from each other. But ultimately now he's going to be 65 points clear with 67 at the table. So then it's a frame ball, and it's going to be 3 frames under bounds for Trump. He's done that in style. And once again, he just hasn't left an easy opportunity away for Yize. He has left the red, but into the left corner at the start of at the middle point of this frame. But ultimately, it was always going to be his frame to lose. And despite not really being too clinical with getting over the finish line from the first time of asking, he still does the most important thing. He wins those frames, and he's now won 3 of those in a row, which would ensure now that he's going to be in there with a chance with the evening session. Even if he is to lose the remaining 4 frames, he's still going to be 6-3 down, which would leave him with a bad opportunity, but still a chance to try and come back from this one. And Yize desperately now, he's going to be looking for that 3rd frame win for him, because I think for both reasons. I think he has to get the number 3 on the board, because with the form that Trump is showing, it could easily turn down to be one of those 7-2, 6-3 sessions, which is not really going to go according to the plan of Yize. But also, he just needs to try and stop this form of Trump there. And that's the exciting bit about it. When you see one of those 2 players to get their rhythm and to play well, the other one has to respond exactly the way that Trump has in the 3rd frame. Yes, he was led by a bit of a mistake from, Yize's point of view, but Trump made his own mistake in this frame. We're struggling with positional play, or struggling to get in with his chances, I would say. I don't really think it was down to the positional play, but, you know, it's just down to a number of factors there. But Trump is not struggling with anything, and he might actually be able to make 2 breaks of 50 plus. The first one was 56. Now, as he takes those 2 difficult reds away, it just shows that could have easily been done by Yize, and he's now going to clatter in towards the yellow. But even then, still got the position on the colour, and he's now got a decent opportunity to try and make the first total clearance here of the match, of it being significantly more than just 10 points, as he now makes the yellow to disappear. Probably going to be looking for that green to go into the left middle, although he does prefer those type of shots on the exhibition style, just trying to take that cue ball around the globe. But for now, he's just going to be carefully positioning himself for the round. So indeed, we are going to have 2 breaks of 50 plus in a single frame there, and nothing else, because the brown is going to disappear, but followed up by the cue ball as well. It will be a foul of 4 points for Trump, but it doesn't really matter, because at the end of it all, he will be down to Trump to be the frame winner, and he's now made it 3 on the bounce. It is Trump back in the lead here for the first time in this frame, but certainly back in full charge of what's going to be happening ahead of him and around him as well. It is now going to be Trump 3, Yize 2, as he's now lost 3 frames on the bounce after having such a positive start against Trump. But once again, you know, I said that thing of Murphy, he's going to come against him, but he also can come for him, because even though he was struggling in the middle part of that match, and wow, I mean, that red was absolutely unacceptable that he missed into the right corner after playing such great 2 shots on the red and the green, you know, and getting all that positional play to be sorted out. But still, you know, that match against Murphy did come to him later on, so there's no real sign that the same thing can't happen now, although he's going to have to make sure he's going to be speeding up there in relation to trying to pull off a comeback, because he could find himself in a position where it could be a touch too late, and he will find it a little bit too much for him to try and do at the end of this match. And even though it is going to be consisting of 2 sessions, you're never going to be going into the second one as the favourite if the scoreline is going to be something like 6-3 or even 7-2, which is still possible. You know, just because Trump won the previous 3 frames doesn't really mean that he's going to be just going back to his seat and thinking, well, you know what, I've done my plan. I'm about to relax here, because, you know, he's just been complaining about, you know, the schedule for the Shanghai Masters in relation to the how little there is to do for him. In relation to, he's saying that you practice for 1 hour and then you have to kill the whole day, or have to try and, you know, find something to do so that you kill the time in the rest of the day there. So you managed to go and play golf with Stephen Hendry and Mark Williams, which certainly entertained him a little bit and helped him out to try and find the answer and the key to John Higgins' game. And 2 players that will know everything about that are going to be Mark Williams and, of course, Stephen Hendry as well. Yeah, but ultimately, Yize is still in with a great chance. You know, it's not quite as great of a chance as he was when he was 2-0 up, but still, he's in there with a shout. And he's now just going to have to try and come away with a good result there for him. And still, you can see Trump having 4 breaks of 50 plus. Yize having 2 of those so far, every single time though those breaks have come in. You know, there was 1 per frame that one of the players has won, and then of course in the 5th frame, Trump managed to make 2 for the price of 1 of 56 and 51 to get himself through to 107 points of total. And once again, it is an aggressive break-off shot there by Yize. And are we going to see an aggressive response from Trump's point of view as well? He's looking for it. Now then, the black doesn't go into the left corner, and he's going for the red into the right corner, which means he's going to have to try and take that cue ball on a journey, and the journey was not going to be made. Maybe he was, to be fair, trying to take the red away from the black, but either way, it hasn't worked out. And even though he hasn't left anything easy away to Yize, certainly they left him a chance or 2 with those reds available. So then what can he try and achieve here? Don't think he's got anything easy. I think he's got 1 shot into the green pocket, 1 shot into the right middle, and a very difficult cut into the right corner as well. Neither one is easy, but I think he's going to have to, yeah, I think he's going to have to forget about the red on the right corner, which is the one that he's going for, because of the positional play, I was going to say. So that's going to be very interesting to see. He's made it. How's the position? It's not great. It's not great at all. I mean, he wasn't a bad shot, you have to say. He just was a little bit unlucky there, Yize, because I think he got the cue ball into a perfect position for what the circumstances were, but one of the reds has just gone and covered up the path of the black there, which means he's going to have to go for the yellow or blue. He's aiming for one of them already. The referee's standing in the way slightly, so you can't really see which one, but I think he's going for the yellow. He is. Wow, that was clean cueing. Brilliant shot there from Yize. I mean, that was about as nice as it can be. I would love to see the sound of that. To hear the sound of that. And see the replay angle, just the camera right in behind the shot, because that looked really, really clean and really, really crisp as well. Well, once again, you know, sometimes all you need is one error from your opponent and the position could not have been any nicer for him. I mean, look at the way that he's got the reds, look at the way that he's got the colours, and look at the way that he's got the points ahead of him potentially. He's got everything for a potential good opportunity there to try and make really, to go really deep into this break. Let's see now if he's going to take this opportunity. Trump turn 8. Yeah, well, I don't really know actually what my prediction would have been before the match. No, I would have said Trump comfortably. I'm just thinking 10-6 or 10-7. Yeah, I think I would have said 10-6. I did expect Trump to be a lot better than Yize. So yeah, 10-6 I would have said. So 6-3 for the first session, and then 10-6 for the overall view of both of the sessions out there. But incredibly, of course, as you can see, average break of Yize still being at 57.0 and Trump's being 43.0, which I think is going to be down to, you know, the way that this is going to be calculated, where sometimes you're going to have a break of 15 points and it doesn't really count, whereas you're going to have a break of 15 points and it does count. So, now then it's still going to be very much looking for the red to be taken into the right corner here, as he now makes a little bit of a distance in between the cue ball and those reds, and by playing the white into them. Slight problem though that he's going to have is that the pink right now is gone onto the spot, which is going to be covered up by the reds in every single direction possible, apart from maybe the green pocket, which is not going to be much of a helping hand, and he's lost the position here slightly. I mean, I thought he was going to just try and recover for the blue, but he's overplayed for it massively, and clearly, with how much he overplayed for it, I don't think he had the intention of playing for the blue, which is surprising to me. Because now, yes, he's got the green, but it's a lot of action on the cue ball that has to go into the shot. Backspin, very straight, very nearly misses the brown, but in the end played that shot superbly well. And yeah, I think he's going to be fine now to try and take that cue ball away, back for the blue here. A little bit wider than he would have liked, but nothing to be concerned about just yet. And of course, it's going to be one of the more difficult reds to be taken out of play as well, which is always a nice bonus for one of the players. At this position, I don't really think it's going to be down to, you know, leave a chance away for Trump, because if you leave a chance away for Trump in this position, then you know it's going to be over. But also, like, it's not even down to leave a chance. To leave a chance, you have to make a mistake. And I don't think in the semi-finals of the Shanghai Master, you should be allowed to make a mistake, although he nearly did. Overplayed massively for that red, and the cue ball travelling a couple of inches further, that would have been a disaster for him. Right now, as it stands, he's still fine, just about, by taking a red away from the right part of the table, and ultimately, of course, still getting closer and closer. He is getting a bit tight on the reds here, but it's probably not down to his fault or his problem. It's probably just down to the specifics of the position. And even though they're all like nicely, wow, that is a horrible mistake. Is he going to get away with it? No, he won't. I just said that he can't make a mistake in this position, and Yize has decided to go for the red, which I actually thought was the right thing to go for, because I thought, you know, A, this is going to free up the black for him, but also it was going to be the shot which, you know, takes a potential red away and frees up a couple more of those reds. But just the thing, as I said, you can't allow Trump to be back to the table at, you know, a position like this. And now as long as he's managed to get that cue ball to slow down before getting too close to the red, which judging from the body language I think he has, well, all of a sudden, he's now going to have this great position in the making, very much all to himself. And I tell you what, I would be very surprised if he makes the same error as Yize has, because of course now he's going to have fewer reds to deal with. But ultimately, I just feel like he's playing very nicely right now, and you know, maybe that's the reason why Yize is starting to sort of drop off slightly of his own performance out there. But yeah, of course, you still want him to be competitive. And for the last couple of frames, he hasn't really been able to show that. So 14 points now is the lead for Yize. But ultimately, Chomp has got all the room in the world ahead of him. But I'm just thinking, is he going to need that one of those reds that Yize has pushed in his mistake towards the left side cushion, which is going to be a similar situation to the first frame, where Yize was able to take a red from a similar position perfectly into the left middle. But a lot has changed since then. And the question is he going to be able to score more than sort of 45 points or so? I think he will be, you know, out of those 6 reds that he's got ahead of him. And that should be enough there for him, as long as he doesn't use the blue too often, which he is going to use right now. So then 6 reds, of course, means that you could score up to 48 points. And yeah, he should be comfortably clear of any danger here, you know. So I think that's going to be a chance gone there for Yize if Chomp just manages to avoid doing exactly what he's done and just thinking about the raid to try and free up the pink, but thinks against it in the end. Clearly too close for the cue ball and not too comfortable on actually being on that pink. But I'm actually thinking about this one. He's taking the blue 3 times now, and of course he doesn't have to worry about that red too much right now, but I also think he should probably get started on trying to get that cue ball for the black now, because not only is he going to be 2 points for every single sequence of red and blacks there, but also, I mean, it's going to be easier for him to try and get on the reds from there, because, like, he has to be taking that line from blue every single time to try and find a perfect spot, whereas, you know, from the black, you can just try and play behind of that shot, and this is another risk that you're not really going to get on the black. He's now dead straight on the blue. Tell you what, this is starting to get a little bit awkward there for Chomp. Nothing to be concerned about just yet, but, you know, sort of as it was for Yize before his mistake on 23 points. But Chomp is in the end able to find a little bit of the angle. And once again, playing a very tight line there in relation to how much of a gap he's left for the potential error in relation to the margin for an error, but still looking nicely for that red. And of course, when you do that and you end up on the right side of it, then you're going to be absolutely lined up with a perfect angle. Now then, he's on the black, and he's just going to be playing in behind of those reds probably every single time into the right corner there, you will see. So now he's having a look to see if he's going to have enough points, and I think he's looking at something like 41 to be ahead of Yize by the time that he gets to 1 red, which is going to be just 35 points for him to be left at the table. So it does seem like 4 frames on the bounce, and well, I mean, won't be the first time that this encounter in between the 2 players has seen Chomp to win 4 frames in a row. And we all know what happened last time. Yize was able to come back ever so stronger, but I felt like, first of all, this is a different stage. That was last 16, with Chomp very much struggling for form at that stage of the season. Although he has just made the Northern Ireland Open final, but he still lost. And now, of course, he's still going to be looking to try and get himself through to another final, the first one of the season. But when it comes down to finals over the last 18 or 12 months, he's certainly going to be #1 player for them, as he now makes it down to 32 points of a gap. So the red and the colour will take him over that finish line. And once again, that break of 50 plus points is going to be here for the taking. #5 for him now in the match. And just looking to try and get 2 more points. I don't think he has to worry about that red at all, the one on the left side cushion. He just needs to make sure, you know, he gets himself top side of a blue if he can, which he wasn't able to. So that's not really going to help him. But, I mean, once again, he still probably just needs to pot the pink or the blue. And then get himself over the line in relation to the frame ball to be over and done with. As it stands, it's still 33 points. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for the blue with just damage limitation, then just plays a safety shot on that red along the side cushion, which probably is going to be the exact thing that he's looking for right now. And something that Yize is going to be looking for right now is going to be a way out of this situation, because now he finds himself 38 points behind, 35 at the table. And yeah, Trump didn't really want to have a contact with that red on the pink. Nearly crept in behind the green as well there on the white, but still, it's a good break that from Trump. Adds up to the, to the record of a couple of 60 breaks that he's had. And still, don't think we've seen a century break just yet, which could be a thing to come there in the next couple of frames, which is surprising to be fair. 6 frames in, we haven't seen a century. We won't see it in this frame, but we could see he's a really good effort there from Yize to try and get a snooker, but I think he's just managed to find a gap there in between the blue and the green, so the referee won't have to take too close of a look at that one. And of course, there's not going to be, I don't actually know why the referee is checking at it for now, because Trump, of course, he's going to be 38 points clear with 35 at the table, so no matter what happens, the referee's not going to be calling a miss here, unless he makes a mistake, the referee, because when you're out of reach in terms of points that you're ahead or behind of, you can't really have a miss to be called on yourself. So then it's now going to be a red next to the black here for Yize. And once again, a great chance to try and just slow that cue ball down, potentially bounce it. Oh, that's too much of a bounce for the black to be the colour separating the cue ball and the red. And once again, a decent effort, but I feel like he just came up a little bit short there in relation to how far away he's going to be from the pink. And therefore, I think the angle is going to suit Trump to maybe even play that shot on purpose so that he gets in behind of the red. And the only thing that can go wrong is, of course, 1 in 100 of a shot. You could get that cue ball to be hitting that specific part of the red, which will bounce the cue ball into the yellow pocket, which would have been a disaster. But as I say, the chances of that are very, very small. And you just have to make sure you're not really going to be too close to that particular area so that you're not going to increase those chances. And something that Yize has just done is that he decreased his chances for winning the frame, because he's just now classed it into the black full ball with a cue ball. So he's now going to leave Trump with a chance to cut this red in if he wants to. I'm not sure if he's going to be looking for that, although it would be nice for him to try and remove the chance of a free ball. Not that it makes any difference now, but could still do so in the future. But yeah, he's just thinking about it. And feels like he needs to get an extension to maximize the performance out of this shot. And whether it is going to be down to trying to cut the red or not, certainly needs to make sure he puts the cue ball to be nowhere near the red, which I think is going to be very much in between and in behind of the ball colours. Probably yellow or brown, because of the cue ball being slightly on the left-hand side. And he has tried to cut it. Don't think there was too much of the effort there, because he didn't get too close. And yeah, just about going to miss out on the contact point on the brown. So just brushes it off at the bottom of it. And now he's going to have a chance to be given away for Yize. And just play the shot very carefully on the edge for the cue ball to say exactly where the red was. And the red itself to be sent towards the bulk part of the table, which I think he's played that shot pretty well once again. And now Trump is going to be the one trying to just send that red away from the cue ball and put it pretty much alongside the bulk line, which could have done a little bit of a better job of, because he's had 3 ball colours to be covering the cue ball, but he's overplayed for it slightly. So Yize could actually try and do the reverse thing, while sending the cue ball to be behind those 3 ball colours again, and then sending the red to go in behind the black and the pink combination. And it's a good effort again, but just seems like he's lacking that a little bit of luck there at the end stage there, Yize. So Trump is, well, certainly going to be able to see the red. Whether he decides to go for that shot like that or not is going to be up to him, because there's not going to be any risk involved if he wants to try and hit that one cushion first, which he has done. So once again, back to Yize it goes. And now an opportunity for Wood to try and just play that shot as if it was a cross double. Just try and get that red in a straight line with the blue. It's overplayed for it slightly, but it was always going to be a very small area for him to target. And now, for the first time in a while, Trump is going to try and go for this red into the corner with a long shot. And, well, I thought so. he decided not to be doing that and not to be risking anything. And he's probably actually going to be the one that lines the snooker up on Yize. A little bit fortunate with the contact for the red of the yellow, but we should be able to swerve around this one. Although he never quite nailed, and he did, but only just about caught the red, which would have limited the control over the red. But now it's got onto the left side cushion. The cue ball has gone on the one on the right part of the table, and now it will be down to a red just to be sent towards, well, probably just stay where it is really, and then just the cue ball to be sent towards the bulk line, which I'm thinking about the roles reversed. Probably the right way for him to go about the business, because of trying to send the red closer to the pocket. Once again, just trying to remove an extra ball away from the table. Yize is going to be very interested in trying to keep that one on the table as long as he possibly can. And this doesn't seem like too bad of an effort either. I mean, don't think he's managed to get the snooker in, but if he has, it won't quite be as easy as the previous couple. They'll still probably would expect him to get this one on the contact from the left side. And he did. Very comfortable here. But now we're getting somewhere in relation to the changes in the position of the blue and the yellow. So very much back down to Yize right now once again. And now looking to try and justify the angle on the red to try and make it pass without touching the brown, the green or the blue. We decided to go for it incredibly, which I don't know what he was doing there, but I think that's going to be very much end of the frame, because he's left this red to be available, and now it's going to be very much down to Watchalong to take the 4th frame on the bounce, and now with a foul from Yize to be the one looking for snookers, but didn't find any. He has managed to find a foul for himself though, as it's now going to be Watchalong with 4 frames to his count. Yize only has 2 right now, and it has been a bit of a Trump show lately, and he's now guaranteed himself to be very much in there with a shout of being right in there at the end of the 3rd session. And right now, unless Yize is going to be able to win the remaining 3 frames, he's still going to be very much in the lead going into that 2nd session. And so far, you have to say the step up from Trump in relation to the first 2 frames and the previous 3, the previous 4, I should say, has been really, really impressive. And there was a step down from Yize as well, as you can see that, you know, the shot in the 6th frame, which sort of killed him a little bit. That red that he was, in this particular frame, in frame number 6, where he was just not able to get that red in despite having such a promising position ahead of himself. And yeah, I mean, he was a good chance. He wasn't able to take it. Now he's going to have to try and reset and just win. I mean, he needs to try and win at least 2 of the remaining 3 frames, that's for sure, because you can't be leading by 2-0 and then ending up the session by 6-3 or something, because that would be just, you know, a disaster, because you would have lost 6 out of 7 frames, which is absolutely extraordinary when you think about the style of play that Yize and Watchalong possess. And it's all down to, you know, when I get the chance, when I don't get the chance. And you can't just say that he's been getting the chances for 6 frames out of 7, and Yize didn't have a sniff of it. So we'll have to wait and see. But it looks really well for Trump. And yeah, he's now going to be the one breaking off to get us underway for the frame number 7. And probably been the exact start to the season that he's been looking for, though it is still very early days. But I think he is trying to get himself back into that position, which, you know, certainly in terms of the game, where he sort of allowed himself to be the player that he is. Certainly capable of being out there, but also just trying to be the best form of himself, the best form of anyone on the tour, and now just having this challenge of the young world champion of 2026 to be up against him. Still feels a little bit sad that we didn't see this match at the Crucible, but the same if I had other plans. Winning against Trump in a very interesting match and a very good decider, and you know, Yize then 1 match later was able to defeat Hossein himself on his way towards the semi-final stage. As now then, it's another good break-off from Trump, which, you know, just seems like all those things for Trump are just starting to come into perfect place there, and therefore they're mounting on Yize to try and add a little bit of extra pressure there, which he doesn't really need there. He's got plenty of problems to deal with. The biggest 2 are going to be the 2 frames that he needs to win to try and get himself back level with Trump. And once again, he's just feeling that he needs to go for those shots. But, well, I'll tell you what, if he's got the technique like that, and he's going to be able to pull those shots off. Nothing that's going to be impossible for him in this match. That was absolutely brilliant for him because of how tight the line was in relation to that red and the side cushion, and still able to be lined up so well on the blue. And now just looking to, well, could have done with being top side of it, but you can't be too greedy with it. And yeah, he's going to settle for the red to be taken with a mid-range there. Still not the easiest shot there, but once again, that's going to be down to him being very straight on that previous blue. If anything, he was slightly wrong side of it as well. So then, needs to be very careful of that front jaw as well. And yeah, taking that one well. Let's see if he's going to have top side of the blue here. Well, he won't. Might be able to, but I don't think that's going to be enough there. I think he's going to have to use the brown to try and get him back down for the reds. And this time around, you can't really say that that's forgiving because, you know, the line that he had on the red, all he had to do is to put a little bit more power behind it. Now he needs to take a more difficult shot on the brown. He's taken that one well, 2 cushions. Needs the third one, and he needs the bounce of that cushion. That's not going to make the cut. Well, seems like he's struggling to get into a real flow there. You can just see the difference in between when Trump gets his own chance and he's flying through it. Sometimes he'll have 1 or 2 bad shots, but well, this has just got a miss written all over this one. Look at how deep he has to dig down to try and stay on the black here. Look at that, brilliantly taken there by Yize, and this is exactly the type of a shot that he needs to try and get him back in the match, to try and get him back in the mix. And now then, needs 1 more good shot on the black, and then he's going to be, oh, it's all going to be there for him. 3 more reds, all in a straight line, and then I think he's going to have a couple more of those right into the, at the bottom of the pack here. So the 19 points, 24 ahead of him now with 3 reds, potentially 3 blacks on the horizon as well. The black is very much possible into the left corner. So all he has to do right now is to take a little bit of a prize for all the hard work that he's done in the opening part of the frame. And now Trump is leading the poll, by the way, by 52% on who's going to be the winner of the first session. So then just looking at the contact that he's made with the black, a little bit too close to the front jaw, but in the end, you know, when you make the shot without touching the jaw, you can't really complain too much. A little nudge towards the reds, which I think will make the black available to go into the right corner as well now. Although you'll probably have to take the red closest to it away, which if you do that, there's not really a need for the black to go into the right corner because you're going to be playing for it into the left corner. So if he takes the one further away from the black and he still goes, then it's going to be great news for him. And yeah, he decided not to risk it, which is understandable at this stage. Can't really afford to be doing that anymore, as he now makes his 3rd highest break in the match already, with it being only 28 points. I feel like on the average break now, because Trump with his improvements and consistency has now gone a 48.6, and Yize is still stuck at 45.7, but ultimately, because of his breaks being so low sometimes, they don't even count towards the average. And ball spot, as you can see, 48 more for Trump, pretty much, well, 50%, a lot more than 50% actually, around 60 or 65% more than Yize, and that, of course, includes all the points and all the balls that he's managed to score in this frame. So this is a key shot now. Top side of a black. He's going to send this one full power into the pack of reds. Let's see what's going to happen. The black is in. The cue ball, well, not too bad. If he's on red to the middle, he got away with one there because I don't think he's played that shot well. No, to be fair, I don't really think he can do anything better there. I think he's playing that well. I think he was just a little bit, you know, on the verge of being unfortunate. But in the end, he's got the red into the corner. He has managed to develop 2 more reds, which is going to be doing him nicely. And yeah, just has to try and take this red away. It's not the easiest shot, but he should be able to deal with it, and he has done. So another great shot there, and a great sequence of shots there from Yize. Now then, 4-2 in terms of frames, 42 in terms of points, and making that 49 right now. I think he will take that in terms of frames as well, for him to win 7 on the bounce and make it 4 frames to 9, but I think he'll take a bit more of a miracle for that to be the case. For now, just focusing on frame number 7, and another great shot there. As long as he doesn't lose the cue ball, which is fine, marginal, but fine here. Another great shot in terms of developing the reds. And remember, he's got 2 more available to him, which will probably get him over the finish line without even needing the last remaining ones. Once again, always seems like that front jaw is coming very fast at him, but this time around, he's able to come up with a solution. And even though he has run himself a little bit out of position a couple of times, numerous times actually in this break, he's been able to recover every single time there. And the latest shot on the black was every bit as impressive as the previous ones, because of how, tight the angle was, and also how far away the cue ball was from the cue ball, from the black, I should say, and how close it was to the side cushion. So then, 58 points on the break, and now he's got an opportunity to try and take the black away into the left corner, make sure he's got a chance to play that cue ball in towards the reds. He's done that. He hasn't really got the result, but he only needs the red now. And then he should be on the color if he pots it. And gets himself more than 67 points clear. So then he's got still a shot into the green pocket. It's not the easiest one. Oh, I'll tell you what, that was a little bit too close. And I think he knew that one, because he did have a little flinch after he hit the shot. It wasn't a twitch midway through it, but I think he was nervous with how close the cue ball was to the front jaw. But in the end, played that one really well, and got the result in, I should say. And the overall break has been played really, really well there for him. The break of 71, one of the highest breaks of the entire match there, I would say, if not the highest. I think we've seen something like an 80 from Chomp once. And now he'll be very much down to a decent opportunity now for Yize to try and make, certainly his highest break of the match, but ultimately a potential chance for a century break. He doesn't have to worry about the frame now. He is 79 points clear with 59 on the table. I'll tell you what, it's been absolutely masterclass of a frame. It's a perfect example of Chom not doing too much wrong there, but, clearly the things that he has done wrong, which I think there was a point where he has played a bit of an aggressive shot there. No, he didn't, actually. I'm thinking about the previous frame. He's had the, I think he's had the break off, and then Yize has had a brilliant long red into the corner, and that just tells you everything you need to know about him. Sometimes, you can play one decent shot there, and you can still lose the frame, and that's the only shot that you're going to play in that particular frame because of the brilliance of your opponent. That's why it is so enjoyable to be watching, and that's exactly why I'd probably like to see Yize win another frame before the end of the session. Whether it's going to be him to lead 5-4, Trump to lead 5-4, doesn't really matter, as long as the scoreline is going to be 5-4, not Trump leading by 6-3. I'm here for it. And I'm also going to be here for a nice little century break in between Yize and Trump right now. And it will be Wu that gets the first break here of a century. And it is 103 and counting. So still going for an incredible 138. If he gets this red in, he's got a great chance of making that one in. And just about catches too much of the back end jaw there. And it is going to be the break of 103 there. The only century in the match so far. And despite still being down on total points there by 110, you would have been 213 then before the start of this frame. But in the end, it was a very impressive breakout there from Yize. And it is a century break, as you can see. And Trump is going to have to settle for a 4-3 of a scoreline, which is still would have absolutely snapped your hand off if you had offered to him, and to the point where he was trailing by 2 frames to nil. But look at that long red to start the break off. Brilliant for him. A couple of some really good shots as well to get through towards that black and allow himself to stay in control. This was a shot there, I think, when he was digging down so much there that I said it's got the miss all over this one, but he didn't miss. He was able to stay on the black, and he never left that prime position ever since that point, despite having a couple of more of the difficult shots that he had to play. Wall that red into the green pocket, which probably was the closest that he got to missing out on any of them there. So then, 51% for Chomp to win this session now. 49 for Yize, obviously. And, tell you what, I'll probably still say Trump is going to be the favourite to at least have a draw in the latest 2 frames. I've said it, one long good red, and you're in. Yeah, one long good ref. That's going to be very much down to your fantasies. But yeah, of course, I understand what you're talking about. It's going to be down to, it's incredible, really, because all the stats, all the numbers, everything that would say that he's not going to be able to do it. And then, not only has he done a brilliant red, but we've seen him pot those brilliant long reds. And then, he's going to scuff it on the next colour, on the next 2 shots or something. And then he's had a perfect break of 103. Yes, all right, he missed that red at the end, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, he's made the century. He's won the frame through a position which was horrible. And Chump has only played 1 shot in the entire frame there. So you may as well just got an autopilot to break off and then, just hope that Yize wasn't able to do anything with it. So, yeah, he could have extended that intermission a little bit later for him had he wanted to. But now, of course, 7 frames down. There's going to be 2 more to go until the end of this first session. And now it's going to be all the way down to, well, probably Trump to respond now because he wants to try and hold on to that lead. Hindsight is, you missed it, you may lose. Yeah, I mean, true. But I don't think that was going to be very much down to one of those shots where you miss it and then, you're going to leave it for your opponent to be on the plays. But I still think there was an element of that. Whether that was the case at the end of it, we'll never know. And that's the beauty of the game. You can guess on what would have happened, but you never know for certain. What we do know for certain is that now Yize needs to just win 1 more frame of the remaining 2, and then he's going to be right back in the mix at the end of the first session. If he wins both of them, even better for him. A little bit worse for Trump. But now, trying to play that break-off shot really nicely indeed, and well, is Trump going to try and go for the exact same thing out there because he has got the red, which does remind you of the shot that Yize went for. Trump has managed to pot a couple of them, to be fair, but this one just seems like the line is slightly off there for him. It's probably, apart from him being on the right side instead of the left, it does seem like a carbon copy of the shot that Yize went for at the start of the previous frame, but his one was more difficult because he didn't have the black to play for, so he had to go all the way for the blue. This time around, Trump can go for this one, and he can try and stay on the black. But this is what you're talking about. You miss it. The momentum is with Wu right now, but if you make it, you can try and turn things around. He's made that one in brilliantly well. How is his luck on the collar? Not great. Not great at all, but I think he's still got a chance to go for the green in towards his own pocket out there because, yeah, he's sort of cannoned into the blue right underneath it. And, yeah, well, he's going to have to use the rest. He's going to have to use 2 cushions, it would seem, to get that cue ball down to the lower end of the table, but backed out of it last second, suggesting to the referee there was someone in the crowd distracting him, so we'll see if that has played a role. He has missed the green like that, very similar one in the second frame, I think it was, after, a sitter of a red that he had available to him after the foul from Yize. Oh, I'll tell you what, he's had 100 miles an hour on that shot. And if there was percentage on the particular shot, I think that was down in 90s. So much power on that green, but just about got that one in. I don't know how, by the way, because when those shots wobble, and he did, he wobbled a lot, they never usually come into the pocket, but that one did. And look at that. Look at how well that's worked out for Trump, because he clearly was playing for the reds right next to the black there, because now, all of a sudden, the long shot, which he was, the long red of a long shot, now has given him a brilliant chance of a shot at this frame now. He's right in amongst the blacks. He's right in amongst the reds as well. And yeah, he's got a great opportunity to try and get some points on the board. Now it's going to be the exact position that Yize had. Because once again, brilliant long red, a difficult collar, difficult couple of first shots. And then, Yize never lost a good position ever since. Whether that will be the same with Chomp, we'll have to wait and see. He's got the blue out of position though, ever since he caught the cue ball onto the blue from underneath it. So he's going to have to try and fix that in the next couple of shots there, because he still needs that blue, because he doesn't have the pink. He has got the black, but the way those reds are positioned, I feel like getting on the black at all times is not going to be an easy mission there for Judd, until he's able to develop a couple of more of those into the open play. So that, yeah, of course he needs to make sure, first and foremost for himself, that he does actually win the session, which is not guaranteed to be doing that now, which means he needs to try and get this frame on the board, and then we're going to have to wait and see on what's going to happen in the deciding frame, because 5-4 or 6-3, if Trump wins this frame, is going to be a massive difference. For now, he's been able to get right in behind the pink. And this is interesting now, you know, because I said he needs to sort out that blue, and he's managed now to get the cue ball onto the pink spot while spotting the pink, which means the pink now is going to go onto the blue spot, which is a great addition there from Chomp, because now he's got the blue in case he's going to over the blue ball spot, in case he overruns for the pink right now, which is on the blue spot, which sounds a little bit confusing, but it's going to be an extra bit of helpful for Chomp. But also now he's going to try and get stuck in with the black now. 31 points of a lead, still 107 at the table. And we all know the rules. You get the break of 50 points, you win the frame so far. And that has been the case. I haven't really seen any close efforts of a comeback. I think the closest that we've seen it was probably the frame number 1, where Chomp was the one in with a chance first. 38 points, proved not to be enough there, and Yize was able to respond with a really good break of his own. That eventually, of course, has won him the frame 2. Now they're just looking at the red to be taken into the right corner. It does seem like he's got the perfect triangle now, and he's got a red above it on the position of the pink, basically. And that red is no longer there because he was able to take that one nicely into the corner pocket, get himself 40 points of a lead. 2 more reds available after the pink, and then that'll get it down to 6 reds, position with a triangle. So don't think he wants to go for that one now, because I think he'll need a bigger angle, but also I think he needs to try and work with those 2 reds first. The pink is now going to go onto its own spot there, which you can see from the reaction of Chomp. I don't think he's going to be amazed with that, because I think at this stage he's got no chance of making contact into the pack from the pink or the blue. What sort of a shot is this? I mean, he's overplayed. What a mistake that is from Chomp. I mean, where did that come from? I don't know why he was trying to go so hard onto this shot. I mean, I understand the blue is out of position, but I mean, he's now going to have the cue ball perfectly on the bulk line. He can't go for the brown because he's going to have to be bridging over the green. And I think the only thing that he can go for is going to be the blue. I mean, he's got the very close position there, but he just, you know, sort of allowed the momentum to be swing back into the 50-50 battle now, apart from him having a break of 47 points. Yeah, I mean, that came out of absolutely nowhere. Still going to be comfortably within that 50% zone, or 83 points at the table, but still, I mean, with no save reds, if you get those 6 away from each other, then it's going to be a very, very difficult thing for him to try and hold on to this lead of 47 points if Yize does get the chance. So, yeah, at the end, probably doing the sensible thing, trying to put the brown onto the side cushion, which he certainly won't need. And Yize is very likely to need, actually. Let's have a quick look at math. So if you take 22 away from 6, that's going to be 60. Yeah, he will need the brown there, 100%. Unless there's going to be foul points floating here and there. And that's a horrible... That is a blunder of all blunders there from Yize. And the only good thing there, as he catches the red way too thin, and the cue ball is going to bounce right in behind of that pack. The only good thing is, I don't actually know how Chomp is going to be able to get on the colour from here. Because that calamity of a shot and send the black away. Chomp is literally going to be sitting on the table now, trying to reach that red, because of how many reds he has to breach over. It seems like he's actually going to be able to do that without sitting at the table. So, let's see how much power he can generate this one. The answer is very little. So then it's going to be a point, but I think he's just going to have to try and, well, potentially put another colour safe. He can put the blue safe. He won't need that one. And, yeah. Of course, Yize will now need the blue as well after he's seen another red to disappear into the unknown. After having that massive mistake of a safety shot misjudgment. But, I mean, as I say, he doesn't really need to be doing that because he has got one of those reds now to be perfectly safe. So he just decides to try and make the life of Yize a little bit more difficult and put the black to be heading towards the right side cushion. So now then, Yize can go for the red into the left middle. You know, the cue ball is perfectly onto the black ball cushion though, which probably is going to be the reason for him not to be doing that. But in hindsight, once again, if you think about, you know, the things that he can do, is that he can either try and go for that red, or he can try and develop the raid from the right side cushion, which was what he's done, or he could have tried to play the cue ball into the back of raids, which probably would have been a bad idea, to be fair, because if you do that, you're going to send the cue ball into that zone where the free red is going to be, so you're just basically gifting a free safety to Watchalong, which is something that you don't want to do, being 48 points down. And now the Trump is just going to have a very brief look at the situation with a potential plant that he can spot into the right corner. And alternatively, of course, he can always go for the red taken into the left part of the table. And as he now has a look to see with those reds. I mean, he can always try and cut it, but he's going to try and cut it into the right corner, which is going to be close. What a shot that is from Chump. I mean, that was brilliant. Let's see how brilliant of a result he's going to get. Well, I mean, you certainly can't blame him for the position in relation to the cue ball. He's going to be perfectly in behind the green already. He's obviously going to call the green now and just try and position Yize in behind this second cheapest of all colours. And of course, as he's now just eking out those reds, making life for Yize more and more difficult. And a couple of, two more reds I should say, and they will make it unbearable. Because at that stage, you'll be 51 points of a gap and 51 at the table. For now, he's going to have to be aiming for... I mean, it's a tough call that, because usually you want to go for the remote red, which is also on the cushion, but with how close it is to the right corner, and with a line probably suggesting that you're going to have to try and hit that one from the left side, unless he goes for a two-cushion escape, which he has gone for, but you can miss that red easily, and he's not really in a position where you can give away foul points. But he's played that well. He's played that really, really well there, Wu. And he's managed to get that contact from two cushions. So didn't give anything away there, apart from potentially the momentum that Trump just can try and send that cue ball away from this red. Whether he's going to try and do that or not, as he's now thinking about the line for the cue ball to take and try and land it in behind the green. So then once again, just trying to send this one away from the side cushion and play it onto the right side cushion as well. Got plenty of action on the white there, and just having a look to see if he's going to be able to get in behind of the green here. And seemingly he's done so. Crowd is starting to disturb her. Yeah, I think we've seen one instance though, so I wouldn't get overly dramatic with it. I think there was one pause with Yize as well. So I wouldn't really, overplay that one too much. It's always going to be the home advantage for Yize, whether that's going to be psychological or it's actually going to be with the fans cheering for him a little bit more frequently. But, have to wait and see. It doesn't seem like he's happy with the way he's played this shot, and you can see why. He's sort of swung his cue as soon as he hit that one, and the reason for it is that he's now left the red to be available to the right middle. It's not a gimme, but it's the one that Trump has been making recently. Let's see if this one is going to be the exclusion, though he won't be. It's another great shot there from Judd, but once again, as has been the story of him so far in this particular frame, just not able to get on the colour. He's now potted 3 consecutive reds without potting any colours with them, so I think he's just going to be behind the yellow again. Just can't do anything with it. There's no value in going for the green, and there's a lot of value in trying to force your opponent to be playing a shot from the cushion, whilst you don't have any of those reds to be close towards a cushion of any kind out there. But also you've got 50 points of a gap, 59 at the table. You've got the black and the brown to be very much in a bad position there. And so you've got 4 reds all bunched up together. So if any contact of any kind is being made, you're very likely to see at least one of them to go away from the pack, or that's going sideways a little bit. And that's going to be 4 points to be given away there for Watchalong, which he'll certainly take at this stage. And he's going to have to put this one back, isn't he? Yeah, he will. So Chomp gets 4 extra points to his name, which makes it now 54 plays nil, 59 at the table. It does that one more time, and the chances are going to be absolutely, well, second to none really, because the black being out of position, and still having to pot every single one of those 4 reds with the pink as it stands. So, well, let's see what's it going to be there for him. As Yize goes for a shot onto the pack of reds. He's got a better line, but I'm not sure if he's got a better pace. And he does, to be fair. Now let's see if Chomp is able to get through to any one of those reds to try and pop them in towards the left corner, which I think he is. And that's what he's going for. But one thing, he needs to be careful because Yize is still within reach. And he can't afford to be missing out on it. And he hasn't. So he didn't have any intention to play for the colour, which is perfectly understandable. So it does seem like he's going to finish this frame off with potting 4 consecutive reds without colours. See what you mean now? It's the second time we've seen the referee trying to wave off the fans in the crowd. And the second time has happened quite recently on Chomp's type of shots. And this is going to be the end of a frame there. So Yize is certainly going to have to concede at this occasion 4 reds at the end. Chomp had a very comfortable lead of 50 points, and he was able to extend that to 55 points at the end of this frame. And that was clearly enough for Yize to concede. Even though he was only one snooker, he was the guy that found himself in a snooker at that point. And now, despite winning the first 2 frames and finding himself in a position of a 2-0 lead, he has now lost 5 out of the remaining 6 frames. And it does turn out to be a very important frame for him. Because it's one of those frames that if he loses it, all of a sudden, he is going to be a massive underdog into the second session. But if he wins it, it's pretty much going to be all, a fresh start there when we get back to the evening here in Shanghai, which is going to be great news for him. But ultimately, I think both of the players will be happy with 5-4. And, when you think about what's happened in the entire match there, I think he will be down to, when you think about the recent couple of frames, Chomp is probably not going to be unhappy with him getting only one of those frames of a lead. But at the same time, when he was 2 frames down, I think it would have been very, very much of a long shot for him to end the session with 6 frames to 3. And that's what he's going to be knocking on the door of, having potted 49 more balls there than Yize, having scored a lot more points, something like 160 more, and having conceded 4 foul points less than his opponent as well. So every single stat there would seemingly favour Chomp here, apart from maybe the highest break, with that Yize being the only player to have made a century break so far in the match. But Chomp still has the consistency to respond to that with the breaks of 80 and a couple of 60s to his name. So it's proving that he has been very much on top of Yize in the probably 70 or 80% of this match so far. Whether that's going to be kept in play until the end of the first session, we're going to have to wait and see. But for now, he doesn't look too bad for him at all. And he still does seem like Yize is going to be under a little bit of pressure to try and get his game to a good level after the break-off shot from Chomp is done, as it now should be the final frame of the session, announced by the referee very shortly. And that he will be down to it. Frame number 9. And it will be final frame of the session, so the referee just confirming that there. So it's all going to be very much down to the format. It's been 2.5 hours before the start of this frame, and it's now going to be very much the end of it. That was a little bit close for Chomp in relation to the cue ball and how close he got to the jaws of the right corner pocket, but in the end, could not have worked out any better there for Judd, because look at how well he's managed to keep those reds away from the pocket, but also look at how well he's managed to get that cue ball to be positioned onto the ball cushion here. So then, if the cue ball goes past the brown, there's still going to be 1 red that Yize can attempt for, but I don't think it does. And I think he's going to have to go for, I would say, a more realistic approach. But what's going to be realistic in this position, if he can't see that red at all, it's going to be quite a nasty situation here, because he might have to go for a cross double on the red, which is going to be a very tough angle for him to try and justify the spin-off. And I'm not even sure if the line is going to be on there at all. So maybe just trying to roll the cue ball towards that red. But, I mean, the position is just one of those times there where it's too open from the break-off for you to try and do, something of a roll up towards those reds. But seems to have spotted something there with Wu. There might be a gap to try and play the reds towards the right corner, but doing that for the safety purpose as well. And, I think there was a gap. There wasn't really one in the making. And now let's see if there is a gap for Chomp to go for the red now into the right corner and to try and make himself to be once again the favourite for the scoring opportunity. Although the way that he's looking at the red probably suggests that he can't see a way past there, and he can't. Well, that's lucky. Very lucky there for Wu. And yeah, in the end, Trump is going to have to play a safety there, which is incredible. With what was happening around the cue ball, it looked like he was going to put a red over the middle with Wu. He didn't. He put a red above the middle, which Trump is about to correct and send back down the table here, as he finds a nice little gap in between the yellow and brown for that one to go underneath the blue ball line again. And yeah, it just seemed like, you know, the double kiss with a couple of reds that the cue ball had. They all just came in the way of each other. And that's what can happen, of course, when you've got 15 reds at the table. A couple of them are always going to be loose, but there's always going to be plenty more which can always just get in the way of each other. And yeah, of course, it's now a free chance for Yize to try and get something going here. And he's looking at the plant, which, I mean, Trump was looking at beforehand, clearly to make sure that, well, that's a little bit fortunate, but not too fortunate at the end, to make sure that he wasn't going to give it away to his opponent, but Yize didn't get too close to that one. Got a little bit of a lucky kiss off the yellow. The reason why I say a little bit is that he's managed to cover up the right-hand side very well with that kiss, but now he's got two shots available for Trump, and one of them is going to be a template of a long shot there for Trump. And with his famous cue power, I'm not going to say he can easily do that, but he can certainly get that cue ball towards the balk line. That's exactly what he's done. The red is going to be perfectly in the pocket, and Trump, after playing the patient game beforehand, he's now managing to get himself through to a shot on the brown and try and take this one away with another good opportunity to make the brown in towards the green pocket and try and make the most out of this one on the frame number 9 here as well, as he was on the previous occasion for the frame number 9 out there. And of course, he's still going to be very much on the cards there of making that 6-3 of scoreline, which, once again, I take no credit for, but I did predict at the start of it. But, you know, he did go a little bit the wrong way for me, because I thought Trump was going to be the one to dominate the opening couple of frames. In the end, it turned out to be the exact opposite there, of Yize winning and dominating the first 2 frames. Then, ever since, you know, Trump never looked back. Yize had a brilliant frame where he made a century break on top of that, but apart from that, he's been very, very quiet, and Trump has been very, very loud when it comes down to the volume of the points, the volume of the breaks, and the volume of great shots that he's played. Now getting himself through to 13 points of the lead, but ultimately getting himself to one of the best positions in the entire match so far, with how well, you know, the Reds are going to be positioned ahead of himself. And once again, just, you know, puts it all down to that brilliant long red that he's taken, despite being unfortunate on the previous occasion for Yize not having to pay any price for his mistake on the safety, which once again was forced at that stage by Trump with, you know, the brilliant break-off shot that he's played. Whether he did mean to get that close to the jaws of the pocket or not, the end result certainly put a lot of pressure on Yize, and that pressure at the end resulted with 29 points and counting. And this could be one of the quickest frames that you could possibly imagine there, you know, because he doesn't have to do anything with the position. He's already 30 points clear. You can barely keep up with him as he's scoring those points. Top side of a black now, trying to get around those reds, playing that cue ball to be quite close to the right side cushion. Make that 37 points now. Now going for the reds in towards the left part of the table. Play that one with plenty of power and trying to get on the left-hand side of the black. And yeah, just looking to probably... He's now managed to clear the left-hand side here. I think he's going to have to go for the right-hand side now, although he's got a couple of more reds which he can play in either left or right corner. And for now, well, I don't know actually if he's got the angle for the red that he's aiming for right now, the one on the right of the ping, the third closest to the right side cushion, but clearly thinks so. And I think he's just about going to have enough there, but he's going to accelerate off the side cushion. When I say accelerate, I didn't mean run away into the atmosphere, and he nearly did that. Way too much power, way too much spin, way too much action there, whatever it was. The red, which seemingly was going to be the easiest of them all, has now turned to be one of the most difficult pots that he's going to have to take in the entire frame. Holy speed. Well, I'll tell you what, he's certainly trying to get himself into an early break there. I mean, he says there's not much to do there in Shanghai, apart from playing snooker and going onto the practice table, but, you know, every single time you watch him play, it just seems like he's in a hurry, and he's certainly going to remain to be in a hurry, although the cue ball still needs to be on the colour. He will be. Brilliant shot there from Chomp. Once again, delivering when it matters. Should be sponsored by Uber out there, but now just looking at the blue, is he going to go for that temptation of just trying to win it all right here, right now, and just send that cue ball into the pink? He will. No, he won't. Sorry. I was thinking that he was going to try and dig down on the cue ball, but he was actually digging down a little bit more so that he was going to get around the pack of reds without touching them, which is a reasonable thing to do in a semi-final when you've got 51 points of a lead and you're leading by 5-3. I went to be at 45 already. Well, I'll tell you, yeah. I've done that once on a football match, and my team was winning 3-0. I came back and it was 3-all. That's why I hate going to the bathroom whilst having the football on. And, well, I'll tell you what, maybe there was a bit of a jinx because, I mean, that was a bad positional shot there from Chum, but he still would expect him to put the red away into the yellow pocket, and he hasn't. So then, could there be a little twist at the end? It's a break of 50 points again from Chum, but this time around he's going to have to stop there. And, well, the position is still difficult for Yize now that, I mean, I say difficult. The starting point is not that difficult, but, you know, now, of course, he's going to need to score at least 80 or 90% of the points at the table here. So he's going to have to get very close to the total clearance, certainly when he comes down to all the reds and the yellow, all to be out of position. But for now, look at that for his shot. Brilliant. I mean, there was probably a margin for error for about 3 or 4%, and he didn't need any of that. That was straight to the heart of the pocket, no matter how tight that was. Probably was about as tight as it can be for you to be sort of taking that shot on. So then 50 points down. There is a chance for Yize to try and take the blue away. And, well, he has to take it into the pink. Don't know what. Well, he decided that he doesn't have to do that. Has he judged the pace well? I think it's going to be marginal, but I think he's all right there, you know. And of course, that's what surprised me. I don't know why Trump didn't decide to do that, and if he has, I don't know how he got so far to the right of it, because he could have easily done exactly what Yize is doing with the pack. Because once you put one of those reds, you put the other one into the play. Once you put the second one, you put the other one into the play, and that's how you take all 5 of them away. And that would have been more than enough for Trump to get over the finish line. But now, Yize with a great opportunity. And, well, that's going to be a waste of an opportunity to an extent. I mean, he nearly wasted that one. I don't know why he decided to go into the pack of reds whilst having the lower red, which he caught, which took the sting out of the pace of the cue ball. So I think it's fortunate that he's going to have a red onto the right middle. And the counterpoint is that it hasn't really done him a lot of good. Got the red in, though, which is good for him. And, yeah, just looking to be on the brown right now. I think it doesn't look too bad to try and make it down to the house. I mean, the pocket may get in the way slightly here, which is not great news, but he might actually be able to just take the green on and take it off 2 cushions. Unless he wants to try and take the pace away the cue ball even more and take it off 1 cushion out there. And I think he's, just about potted the green. But nevertheless, he's going to be perfectly on the red. So clearly judged that one well in relation to the positional play. Not so much to the pot success, but anyway, the green is in. The red is now going to be followed. He's now going to follow the example of the green. And this is where I think the position is going to suit him to try and go into the back of those 2 reds. But he needs to try and catch the one on the right. Whatever he does, he needs to be. 6-3 will be much different for Trump than 5-4, vice versa for, yeah, exactly. He's actually decided not to be touching those 2 reds, so he's just going to try and take one into the left middle. But surely he's going to have to try and touch the other one for him to pot the second one there, right underneath the pink. But first things first, I mean, that was the easy part of the job, which still was a little bit difficult with how many points he was behind there. Now, that was a good shot there as he takes the pink into the left middle. But we're about now to get to a very dangerous part of the frame there for him. But I have to say, he got further than I thought he would, which is impressive. He just now needs to make sure, now he's made the 50-50 of a battle, I mean, that's a little bit weird, but that was clearly intentional. I thought he was going to try and take that red away, but I mean, surprisingly to me, I don't really understand what was that all about. I mean, why did he play for a shot on the red next to the bulk line? I mean, surely that was the one for you to go when you're trying to go for a 6-color clearance. I mean, he's got other plans about it, but he's played that shot really well. Once again, that's one of the reds, which is going to be difficult out of the equation. That's probably the most difficult one out of the way as well, which is great news for him. But I thought that was going to be the one for you to try and drop the cue ball on for the yellow. And yeah, I mean, I don't really understand what is the situation with those two reds here. I mean, he can always go for the red onto the left side cushion if he just gives it a massive bounce here from the blue. So what's it going to be the intention? That's what he's done there, but he's gone on the run for it, I think. Just about fine. Just about fine here. And once again, 11 points behind there, so nothing to separate the players at this stage, so he will be leaving Trump in the position where he will need the yellow as well. So all the difficult stuff now is now going to be needed for both of the players, which is not great for either one. But at the same time, Yize certainly managed to get really far into this frame, and now just needs, I feel like he just needs 3 or 4 shots there. And then 5-4, he could take like a win here for him after everything that's happened against the world of one, but I still think he's the underdog because he's got this shot ahead of him now, and if he misses it, then he leaves the red over the pocket. Have to wait and see. And he has, wow, he got that one in. That was a little bit generous there from the pocket because he caught the front jaw, which usually is going to be a recipe for disaster. But once again, that left corner pocket has always been a little bit dodgy for me because I think it does let in a lot more than he should. And that comes away with both of the players, but I just think so far we haven't really seen any one of those dodgy shots there. He's just always been very much on target, but yeah, Yize just feels like he's probably not quite as happy with the angle on the black, but he always has got a backup option of potting the black, getting close to the red, and then just playing that red away into the open space and getting that cue ball tightening behind the pink. So he's, well, I mean, he's tried to go for the contact, but he's sort of messed up the option that I was giving to him. Unless that red still goes, which I don't think it does, because you know, the reaction would have probably not been there if the red still went into the corner. Yeah, I just don't really get. I get that he was trying to improve that position of the red and try and win the frame in that one visit to the table, but well, he's gonna have to wait and see what's gonna happen here. I mean, he could still try. Well, that was very close to the double kiss, and I mean, in the end, he put the red safe. He got the cue ball to touch the jaw of the right middle. So is there going to be an attempt of a double? I don't really think there's going to be a lot of value in double now, because it's not only the red, it's also the yellow you need to be worried about. So I think the players are going to have to wait for a better chance than this. And Charm showing how it's done with the safety. And I'll tell you what, it's a really good safety there from Chum, because I think he's actually managed to cover up the bounce of the black ball cushion. 50-50, both are great player, experienced Trump, fighter. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when he comes down to flair, well, there's not going to be a lot of flair about this one, though. Let's see where the red's going to finish. He sort of bounced it on the back side of it, and, well, Trump has managed to... No, I think that was Wu that managed to put an exact same carbon copy of the red in the second frame. But that was at the point where the frame was done. Now then, Chum needs a good 3 or 4 shots, and he's going to be in with a 6-3 lead, and he's decided to go for the yellow straight away. Look at that for a shot. Well, I mean, is he going to be a little bit too good? Is he too straight in the yellow here? It was a wonderful red. It was a wonderful positional shot on the yellow, but it's going to be 2 yellows in a row that he has to take. And does he have the angle to force that cue ball? Well, he had the angle. He didn't have the pot to force the yellow. I was surprised with that, I have to say. I mean, look at how far he managed to get the cue ball on. He would have been perfectly lined up for the yellow. That was the definition of a shot for the frame. But now, Yize has got a great chance of trying to go for the yellow now into the right corner. Plenty of power, plenty of accuracy, and I tell you what, well, he still needs some work to do here on the green. But he's got a brilliant opportunity ahead of himself now to try and take the green into its own pocket. And now, and at that point, you know, he's only going to need 3 more shots after that, all to be on their spots. And this could be a massive, massive frame for the outcome of the match. The green is in. The position on the brown is going to be there too. So Yize with a brilliant chance there after Trump wasn't able to find that final piece of the puzzle. And Yize is going to punish him now. If he does manage to get the brown, blue and the pink in. All down to the spine, all down on their places. So then just backspin and, well, a little bit too much of that, I think. No, brilliantly taken away. I mean, he's got plenty of backspin, but he's allowed the cue ball to slow down as soon as he hit the side cushion. So now he's just going to have the blue in a straight line to be taken, but still, very importantly for him, he had the angle to force his way on towards the pink, and now he will be all the way down to the pink for the frame, and let's see if he's going to be caring about the black out there. He will, which is great entertainment for the fans. Total clearance of 27 points there for Yize. That finishes it with great bit of pressure, and at the end stage it will be down to 5 frames to 4. It was a very, very close battle, but in the end Yize was able to take that key frame away from Trump, and after 9 frames it is nothing to separate the players. One of them had to be in the lead, and it is the world number 1 that will take a minor lead into the second session. It is Trump that leads Yize by 5 frames to 4, but in the end it is the player from China that has managed to take that very, very important frame away. One is ranked number 1 and the other current world champion. What more can the playing crowd can ask for? Exactly. You have to enjoy it. You have to savor it. And so far we've had a brilliant match of 9 frames. We're guaranteed to see at least, 6 more of it. 5 more, I should say. But we're going to have to wait and see. Hopefully this match will go all the way very much to the decider, and then may the best player win. Thank you very much for everyone tuned in. Feel free to be back for the second session as well, as we discover who's going to be the first finalist of the Shanghai Masters to join either Xiao or Karen Wilson after they've played their match tomorrow. But yeah, very impressive stuff there from Trump and Yize at the same time. Trump had a bit of a quiet start in the first 2 frames. Yize took full charge of the position, managed to take a 2-0 lead. Then Trump managed to discover his form, responded with winning 4 frames on the bounce. And then we had a little bit of, a battle in between the players, as we're now going to get through towards a decent opportunity. First goal, anyone's game later, more drama than one-sided. Exactly, that's exactly what we want to see from the neutral's point of view. And yet, after a 4-2 lead for Trump, Yize was able to get a, 1 frame in there, and then he was able to just stay within 1 frame away from Trump at the end of that stage. But it could have easily been 6-3, and that yellow been potted there by Judd. But at the end stage, it is now going to be Yize within touching distance of the world number 1 as we approach the deciding point of this semi-final in just over 2.5 hours time. Thank you for everyone that has tuned in, and stay tuned in 2.5 hours time. We will see very much the result and the outcome of who is going to be the king of Shanghai Masters, at least for today, until the final on Sunday. Stay tuned in, everyone. Thank you for watching, and for sure be back at the second session to see who's going to be the winner of the semi-final number 1.
My heart rages around like an ocean in my head, because there are so many things that I left unsaid. like an ocean